We up in your business, we ain't stopping, yo, it's time to go, let's get it. Whole squad, get ready now, let's go all out, let's win it, win it. We gon' get the bag, we gon' get the loot. And if we gotta fight, you're gonna get the boot. Nowhere to hide, when we in pursuit. Cause we the champions, y'all can't dispute. We're going for the top.
Fortnite fam. You guys ain't ready, baby. Welcome back to the FNCS. This is Heat 3. I hope you're prepared because this is going to be one of the most stacked heats we've ever seen. Lock in. It's FNCS time. Viv, Kelly, they ain't ready. They ain't ready. They think they're ready, but they're not ready. What's up, Fortnite fam? Welcome on in. This is Heat number 3. That's Kelly. That's Vivid. Kelly, it's Heat 3 time. It's Heat 3 time. All right, they ain't ready.
I mean, listen, we've expected since the qualifiers have wrapped up that Heat 3 is going to be the most contentious, the most exciting. But between Heats 1 and 2, we've had upsets, we've had our pros shining, we've had sky bases. The fact that we've already had so much incredible Fortnite in days 1 and 2, and we haven't even gotten to Heat 3 yet, Vivid, I cannot wait.
But that just hits home the hardest, right, Kelly? Because there has been so much incredible stuff happening over the course of Heat 1 and Heat 2. But when we were watching Heats number 1 and Heats number 2, we kept talking about Sunday. We kept talking about Heat number 3 and how stacked it was going to be, how many storylines we had kind of going into the competition here today. And we have finally made it. So even though we saw a bunch of stuff happen in Heats number 1 and 2, I'm expecting just a little bit more out of Heat number 3.
I can't wait, Viv. I can't wait. Let's get into it. We got to jump right into it. So in case you missed out on yesterday or the day before, we've been doing this thing called a session summary. Viv kind of talks us through it. We take a look at all the duos in here, see all the players, and kind of just run through some of the stats. Vivid, hit us with the numbers.
Without a doubt, I mean, the FNCS Finals here is going to tell the story of how stacked Heat number 3 is. By the way, Heats number 1 and 2, we did not get past the 300 mark here on these FNCS Finals, and we are up to 414 here in Heat number 3. That to boot, 25 total FNCS wins here across some of our competitors, and kind of that similar theme that we have talked about over the course of the weekend. New duos being 39. I think in Heats 1 and 2, it was like 41 and 40 respectively. So still a bunch of new duos kind of joining the scene here for this competition, which we will jump into more in just a little bit.
I think what's even crazier, though, is to see how much experience, how many accolades we have in this heat, but to also see how many players there are without an FNCS Finals performance. It just goes to show how top-heavy NAC has really become. But of course, we got to talk about the top teams then. We got Higgs and Curve. Then we have to talk about Zeke, because as far as duos forming after Major number 1, I was a little shocked to see Higgs and Curve. Obviously, Curve coming off the win from Major 1 with Veno, not exactly having the summit performance that they wanted, but to see him forming up with Higgs, the duo made of clicks for so long, Vivid, I think a lot of people were a little shocked, but also not necessarily disappointed.
I mean, it's just super rare to kind of see our reigning FNCS champions just instantly split up. But hey, listen, if this is what these guys want to go ahead and do, this is what they felt like was right, then they had to go ahead and play it. Because remember, we talk about it time and time again. What a lot of these players look forward to across the entirety of the year, it feels like every single major, every single event leading up to that last event on the year, that global championship that we have had over the past couple of years, it just feels like everything is all about that. So if you have Curve and Veno, our reigning FNCS champions on NAC, go in the summit and they place 37th, they don't qualify to globals, then surely they felt like something just wasn't right there. So they felt like they needed to make some changes because, again, they're just probably thinking about that global championship qualification. That being said, though, we're going to be seeing Curve and Higgs kind of try to do the same exact thing over the course of, not only this weekend in terms of qualifying to the grand finals, but then, of course, next weekend they're going to try to, of course, play well there. And I like how this has kind of panned out for both Higgs and Curve. I feel like they're going to be a really good duo.
I like that. I like the sound of that. Higgs and Curve. Okay, I like that. But obviously then, if Clicks isn't part of this anymore, who's he duo up with? It's actually Rapid. So now we have a different style of duo here, Clicks and Rapid. Talk to me about this mashup.
An interesting mashup indeed. I think that as far as the start of their journey has gone, it didn't necessarily go the way that they wanted. However, they have definitely in the last 2 weeks, right just before opens happened, been picking up steam, landing over in Shaken Sanctuary right now. If I'm not mistaken, uncontested for the Heats today. They're looking like they have a pretty good showing to get into obviously the grand finals. There's no doubt in that. But also just seeing how they've been performing in the last couple of weeks, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a great showing in grand finals as well.
Listen, they may work very, very well on the server. It may work out very, very smoothly for them when they are playing the game. But for me, I'm going to slip up at least once over the course of the next week. I'm going to say Cold and Rapid. I mean, come on, Rapid. You can't team up with somebody's name who starts with a C once more after you and Cold kind of break up there. But yeah, for Clicks and Rapid, man, I mean, this is great. Obviously, Clicks still chasing that FNCS win. He does, of course, have to qualify to the grand finals today to go ahead and actually have an opportunity to go ahead and make that happen. But I feel like Rapid could be the secret weapon here. I mean, this guy online specifically over the past year, chapter 6 and now chapter 7, has not placed outside of top 6 every single online FNCS in those regards. So Rapid and Clicks, man, keep an eye on these guys.
Yeah, Viv, I'm gonna mix up the names. I mix up names all the time.
Yeah.
More on that later. Let's keep going though. Booga and Braze, yet another duo we'll be seeing here compete in the heat. I mean, dude, Booga looking great now paired up with Braze, but Kelly, maybe the performances haven't been quite what we expect from a name quite like Booga.
It's so interesting when we talk about Booga because I feel like every time people start to be like, oh, he's washed, he's gone, is when he actually comes out on top and qualifies for land, which is obviously what we saw from Booga and Braids coming out of the Reload Elite series. They're going to be landing over in Golden Grove, and I think that they're going to have an easy time right now as far as the Heats go. We do know that, they've only recently kind of formed at the end of last season, so to see them not necessarily having the consistency that we would want to see them out of the Div Cups, that's not necessarily too shocking. I think when it comes to Booga, though, he's really smart. He knows the differences that it takes for a Div Cup finals to something like Heats right now, so I'm not too concerned for them.
Yeah, and this is going to be that similar theme that Kelly was talking about yesterday, where you take this experienced player and you kind of, team them up with kind of this fragger, right? Somebody to kind of carry the torch in terms of those eliminations. Of course, Booga, one of the most experienced players that we still have competing today, 26 FNCS finals appearances of his own. Braids has made it to his fair share, don't get me wrong, but he just has 11, right? So the disparity is there between the experience, but I feel like this could really work out. But the reason why everybody kind of calls into question, hey, listen, how good is Booga right now? We haven't actually seen him play in a final since Chapter 6 Major 3. But over the course of that entire chapter, by the way, he got 7th, 6th, and 7th. So he was doing very, very well in trios just last year. He just has yet to kind of find his footing when it comes down to the duos. But Kelly already mentioned it. Reload Elite Series, going well for these guys. Let's see if they can keep it going here.
That's right, man. We always got to put respect on Mr. OG's name, right? And that is Booga. Like to see that. One final duo here to quickly talk about. It's actually Golden and Ozone coming in here to heat number 3. So talk to us about this duo. What can we expect from them today?
Well, they are going to be contested over in Frosted Flats by Pacoboa and Afi, if I'm not mistaken about their names. I'm not too concerned about that being the situation, though. Obviously, this is one of the teams coming out of the Summit land, getting 13th place, which has qualified them to the Global Championships. And once you have that qualification already set in your mind, it definitely kind of affects the way that they play. Maybe the confidence levels are a little bit more there. Maybe they're willing to make a little bit more risks. And honestly, I'm really excited to see what their Coach TS is coming out with, because Golden and Ozone in the final 2 Div Cups, getting 4th and 2nd place, have really been showing up.
I mean, such an incredible run for Golden and Ozone right now. By the way, Summit was their first land. They went ahead and picked up 13th the first time they were already on that big stage show. An incredible job by these guys. Of course, we are going to be seeing them later on in the year to kind of continue on that and see if just getting that little bit of boost and experience can help them kind of maybe break into that top 10. Of course, though, Kelly already kind of mentioned it, to actually kind of continue with this little bit of a snowball that they are on right now after qualifying to the Global Championships. We would love to see them actually make it into the finals, which, by the way, Golden himself has only done it 7 times making it to an FNCS Grand Finals. finals, and Ozone has only done it 4 times. So not necessarily a common theme for these two guys, but the fact that they're kind of contested off spawn brings into the question whether or not they can kind of overcome that early fight to make sure they either kind of get a win today or qualify through consistency.
I see. Okay. Many storylines kind of coming together here in Heat number 3. I feel like we... there's still plenty of duos we need to talk about, but I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room. That is Veno deciding to move away from Sinister. Vivid, can you talk us through why that might be?
Well, I went ahead and wrote down a couple of reasons, and probably the one that everybody's going to be thinking about is that 18-6 scoreline. And it's not even necessarily the fact that it was 18-6 in favor of Peterbot and Pollo across some scrims and across some cups throughout the week, but it's also the fact that for some reason the community just kept noting this and kept reminding Veno and Agers, like, hey, listen, by the way, guys, this is the score, you know what I mean? So Veno and Agers might have been kind of constantly thinking about the fact that they were getting a little bit beat up off spawn by Peterbot and Pollo. But also, on the flip side of that, Peterbot and Pollo, they're a global championship qualified team. They kind of have nothing to lose outside of course, that, you know, they want that prize pool money. But all of these players, I already mentioned it, all they think about all year long is global championships. And if Peterbot and Pollo can kind of prevent one of these top teams from actually qualifying simply in heats here today, then they would 100% take every opportunity to go ahead and do that. So maybe that was something that Veno and Agers were thinking about. Also, Kelly, the fact that Shadow and Virgo didn't qualify yesterday to grand finals, and this is a team that lands Heatwave Harbor normally, the fact that they're not going to be in finals, maybe Agers and Veno were like, well, maybe we can just get Uncon Heatwave in finals.
Oh, well, Uncon Heatwave implies that they're going to be able to take out Bucky and Cam. And now listen, I understand. As far as accolades and general understanding of Fortnite goes, Veno and Agers is definitely up there above Bucky and Cam. However, I will say one of Bucky's strongest attributes as a player is his off-spawn ability. They have the experience, they have the understanding of the POI. So for Veno and Agers to come here kind of expecting to get this potentially uncontested at Grand Finals, I think they might have to fight for it a little bit.
Yep, without a doubt, we'll see how that breaks down. But also, Veno's explanation himself, right? He got an opportunity to explain it for himself. I saw he kind of typed in some chats across the board. And apparently, it was actually his idea to never actually contest Peterbot and Pollo in the end of it all. He was kind of just utilizing them as sort of practice to get better at the new drop mechanic. And apparently, he just was like, listen, we're just going to keep fighting them until it comes down to the moment where we have to leave. So now he's obviously left, and Kelly kind of mentioned it. Veno and Agers are going to be going head-to-head with Bucky and Cam over at Heatwave. We'll have to see how this one pans out. But where does this leave Peterbot and Pollo, the duo, who have once again proved that they are not only one of the best duos in the world when it comes down to just placing in events, but they are also one of the best duos in the world when it comes to these off-spawn fights. I mean, we have seen it multiple times, not only throughout, this year, but prior in the past, these two players constantly having to fight off spawn to kind of prove, hey, listen, we are as good as everybody kind of thinks we are. And I feel like Veno and Agers, they kind of gave them the opportunity to prove once again, hey, listen, guys, we can fend for ourselves off spawn. We're going to push you out of our POIs. Please do not come.
I mean, there's got to be a reason why all the POIs that these guys land, it's like Demon's Domain, Sinister, like it's the, have they become the villains of NAC? I don't know if that's necessarily true, but they've definitely become the Goliath that every David is looking towards to beat right now. And Pollo and Peterbot, even when we saw them at the end of Major 1 where they got, 7th place, and obviously that's a pretty poor performance for Pete and Pollo, and then they go to the Summit LAN and we get to see the double solo performance from Pollo. Like, there's never a moment where we're allowed to think, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe everyone else is starting to catch up to them. And then they've reminded us, no, you guys are playing in our lobby. This isn't NAC. This is Pete and Pollo's lobby.
Man, yeah, it's a lot, right? Like, listen, we've talked your ear off, okay? This Heat 3 is absolutely stacked. It's going to be an absolute banger. We have 40 seconds to go, so why don't we do this? Why don't we go head up, meet up with your casters? It's Jacob PR, it's Monster Deface, to set up the stage for Heat 3.
Thank you so much. That's the big three on the desk, breaking down all the action and some of the teams we expect to see in Monster. This is why the community is looking at this as one of the hardest heats in Fortnite history.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the content, the entertainment that is ahead of us is going to sell itself. I don't know who at Epic pulled out the drive and put the script together or something, but this thing is crazy because when you look at the roster here, I mean, Jacob, I saw the comments online. They were saying this looks like a grand finals lobby already.
No, it definitely does. You have superstars upon superstars, but you went ahead and look at some of the point values for these heat stages. Most of Major 1, the average is about 155 points to qualify. So far in our 2 heats, it's been 158. It's only a 3-point jump, but that's an elimination. That's a placement point, and we've seen 1 point change the difference of the course of history already.
Yeah, most definitely. You add in that little, pepper in the randomness that, of course, there are going to be teams that come from nowhere, probably at the bottom of the standings, and then push through a qualification. We've already seen that this weekend. I mean, shoot, yesterday we almost seen a Sky-basing team in Jordan and Brennan take home a random win in the game number 5, keeping it interesting for us. So, yeah, anything is possible here. But one thing's for certain, Jacob, there's going to be some upsets.
No, there definitely is. 5 games today, 5 Victory Royale winners will punch their ticket directly to the grand finals. After that, we look at top 10 inconsistency on the leaderboard. So we get to see which teams will continue their journey in FNCS, dodge the last chance major, because game 1 is ready. So let's get into it.
I feel like this is the moment the entire community has been waiting for. Game 1 of heat number 3. It's been building up to today all weekend long. How are these storylines going to unfold? I mean, our analysts did it perfectly. They gave us the bigger picture, who's contested, what's on the line. But more importantly, this is just the beginning of what's teeing up one step closer to our grand finals.
Yeah, I even have my eyes glued at this drop map right now to see if there's any tricks up anybody's sleeves. Kind of saw Sinister Strip, uncontested, nothing strange going on there. Reed uncontested at Wonky Land, but this is the fight we thought would happen. Bucky and Cam landing over towards Heatwave Harbor. You see it in the minimap. Venno and Agers looking to take the other side, but that leaves them open to a little bit of shots like this. Luckily for them, it was only a rapid-fire SMG, so nothing's going to connect.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest. I was thinking that probably they were trying to pull a fast one on us, and they would be, pretty timid, right, in contesting one another, maybe split the drop. We've seen it time and time again, but it seems like Bucky is here to fight, so we'll just keep an eye on that one. Jumping over to some other contested drops. I mean, when you look from the community side, who is fighting who, there are 10, 11, 12 plus different potential battles happening right now.
All gone. I would feel like at a slower pace here, that's kind of the trend of day 1, heat 1, game 1, kind of throughout the weekend. But right now, you see when you're in the contested fight, sometimes you're not able to really slow down the pace. Sineto, Zypta just kind of taking the scraps. They don't want to necessarily take a big risk this early on in the tournament, so they are going to go their separate ways and kind of force a split, which isn't necessarily easy because the amount of teams in and around the battle woods.
Yeah, talk about those split plays now already. We're seeing how Peterbot starts to venture outbound, of course, trying to play for those mythic weapons. This is going to be a very big day for Peterbot. We'll have to see if he decides that he wants an early clock out, or if he wants to go the distance. We've seen a little bit of everything from different pro players and play in Peterbot. And boy, you have averaged roughly 14 eliminations per game, including of the 4 games with 30 plus of those elims. I mean, there's just so much going on here with Peterbot and boy, you never know what you're going to get, but one thing's for certain, they're always explosive. Look at this fight here, Jacob.
Yeah, you see him just trying to go ahead and box him up, gets the down. Just 2 angles sometimes, hard to overcome, especially in these off-spawn fights where you don't have a lot of materials. You see Amplified trying to hide. I did see in the feed his teammate did go down to Kugo and Castle, but a third party comes in. That's going to give him a little bit of a blessing to try to assess this situation over at the coast. But a whole nother team comes in as well. 3 teams straight fighting it out here, just trying to figure out how they can get some early points, a little bit of advantage. There goes Castle going down. Fan is going to go ahead and get that first knock, give his team a little bit of advantage. Him and Angel seem to storm this fight, and it seems to be working out.
Yeah, they're doing a good job kind of cleaning things up right here. You saw Tsunami's Amplify kind of lurking on the outskirts. I was uncertain of whether or not he had his duo and he was ready to jump in himself, but it seems like he doesn't want to get into this fight. It's a little too messy. If you attract any extra attention, he might get jumped on by these fresh duos here. Angel, Van get a nice little elimination there. Some points on the board, and everyone else splits up.
Yeah, Amplify, Kugo, just kind of blessed to be able to survive this fight. They might be solos as of now, but they're just trying to venture on out so that way they can hope to get their reboot. card and their teammate back in the game later on. Clicks and Rapid getting busy early on as well. They already got that one elimination, and even though they might be uncontested here, Monster, they're looking for some early game fights.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, you don't want a situation like we saw yesterday where some teams, you know, a little hesitant, right, to make a move in game number 1, put yourself into the action. It takes me back to kind of to Heat 1 where Cold and Ritual nearly found themselves, right, on the wrong side of the storm surge for game 1, and that's kind of set them off. They weren't able to come back, but look at this. We were curious about how the fight was going to go down. Bucky and Cam had a lot of choice words to say about how they felt they've been prepared in this drop this entire time. And it'd be crazy for anyone to think that they can just jump on over to the harbor and take the drop from them. But so far, Venno has the lead here.
Yeah, you can already see what's in Ager's inventory here. He does have the scanner, so they don't necessarily have to lurk around super hard, take many big risks. They just need to figure out what building they think Bucky is in, and then throw that scanner nearby. So hiding is going to be very, very limited for him. You see the team on the outskirts, Mako and his duo, just trying to go ahead and get their split drop or loot and kind of bring it back. Out goes the scanner now, and now Bucky's position is going to be revealed. And this is the thing about contested fights. Sometimes you're okay with letting that solo live, but in this situation, there's no shot. If they have an opportunity to take down Bucky, they're going to let that one go to waste.
Yeah, they have to. They have to allow, you know, themselves to take a huge lead over Bucky and really give him no chance to go to finals. Otherwise, this is going to be a problem that's going to come back around to visit them later in a finals lobby. So for Venno, for Agers, the option is very clear. It's them versus Bucky and Cam all day today. They're going to do everything in their power to hold them back.
Going to take a pause right now and see that there's no HP in either one of the guys' inventory here. So they have to kind of revert back on over towards that mending machine. They definitely have enough gold to get the med kits, to get the chug jug. Definitely going to have a wide selection at their disposal. But while they take this time, it's going to allow for Bucky to try to figure out an escape plan here, as King and Praise also uncontested at Calamari Canyon. They're lurking outwards. They're an aggressive team, Monster, and they're already starting off game 1 in that same fashion.
It's a very fun duo right here. You saw them at the summit just popping off, putting on performances. I mean, in the practice room, King was someone who was slowly and surely earning everyone's respect just based off of how good he is in these types of box fights, head-to-head environments. He tends to win his ones very much regularly against the other NA Central pros. And already flexing just that. Meanwhile, we have Skittles in here. They're kind of playing the zone right now in the chop shop. They pull the zone up towards this way, so they have a lot of time to work with. But again, this is kind of unfortunate, right? I feel like if you get the zone this early and you're playing Storm, you are not going to have enough damage.
Got to agree with you 100% there, especially since we've already seen a lot of the teams rotate inwards, so it's not going to be too many options here. As Kugo finally seeing him still rotate up from the cluster coast. Trying to figure out how he's still going to get his duo back into it. A lot of this coastline, Monster, is contested by either split drops, or if you go up towards Golden Grove here, Booga and Braids will kind of claim this as their own. They've claimed it all season long, so it's the kind of thing, whether it's contested or not, they don't stray away from a fight. And that's why it's getting kind of dangerous here while teams are kind of lurking in. But the biggest resource here and why teams are lurking here from their split drops is the amount of metal you're able to farm.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the remnants of other boxes from players kind of refreshing and warming up their material counts. There's still a loose solo here, though, lurking inside. This is going to be helpful for Booga, though, because this team's likely to be caught out first. Booga, Braids will be able to kind of jump on the opportunity as they get the extra download of the information of where the teams are. For now, though, everyone's pretty patient here. Even Booga Braids kind of eyeing that duo on the outside. Just kind of waiting this one out. Really trying to buy time here.
Yeah, just like we saw Kugo already swim north. It almost looks like Steely might be by himself, trying to do the same thing. Follow that path. Avoid potential danger at the Grove. You kind of see Kanata and Sphinx. Very, very similar drop as we saw yesterday with Aoxy and Jojo Fishy, that top mountain. They have the benefit to kind of look down at either one of the contested fights at their disposal to try to accumulate those numbers. So since it is very, very early on, you can kind of see the base that they're set up, knowing that most of the teams on the eastern side of the map are going to have to figure out a way to get in the zone.
Kanata had the bulk of the ammo there too. Sphinx was looking a little light. We'll have to group up together here shortly. Meanwhile, more rotates coming through the Heatwave Harbor. I'm seeing the feed light up as Kingaling finds another duo, so Again, Craze and King just kind of doing their thing right now. Popping off, finding points, reflexing on the competition here. And you saw the graphic, right? It said that there are 9 finalists, 9 champions, sorry. The most of any heat in this particular heat. This is by far a very competitive lobby to be going against.
Yeah, you're seeing players like, you know, Higgs and Curve. In their play-ins, Monster, you kind of look at a lot of their stats. They got 16th, not necessarily the best on the leaderboard, but 215 eliminations. 9 games with 10+ eliminations or more. They had 4 games with 20+ eliminations, one of the highest in this lobby outside of maybe Peterbot and Poyo. It just goes to show, when that switch gets flipped, they can turn it on, they can get aggressive, but they can also have a slower pace game over towards Lifty Logs. They know the zone is working in their favor. They can overstay their welcome. They have a mending machine, which no other teams are going to touch. So right now, it does look like game 1 looking sound for them. Just like Reet and Cooper, uncontested Wonky Land, and they waste no time making their way to the zone.
Yeah, they have one of the stronger drops, of course, to be completely uncontested. You see it reflective of the loadout, but jumping to Venno, Agers, the hunt now to fight and find action laid them to Craze and King. This is a tough battle here. I mean, we've hyped up King and Craze enough. This is about to be the point where they get to show us of whether or not what we said was all smoke and mirrors, or they really do have what it takes. Agers, Venno kind of backing off here, looking to almost get themselves situated a bit more. King and Craze recognizing, hey, this might be a really good team. Look, they kind of back off the machine here, go back into the storm as a safety strap.
There's no real reason to make some big risks early in this game, especially when it's success at your off-spawn fight. Didn't necessarily get both of those eliminations, but hey, they're definitely progressing in the right direction. As we go back on over toward the Battlewoods, we know more and more teams coming from the north side of the map, or even the eastern edge, will try to make their way on over. I think it's the slower, less occupied side of the zone. But we saw how contested the battle was right out of the gate. Soneto and his duo Zypta really haven't moved. They just parked that ship, and they have no intention of bringing that anchor back up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they have this entire southern half, right, of the Battlewoods themselves, so they're sitting very much situated right now. Take a look at the map. Still so many teams playing the outer skirts of the zone right now. But here comes the outer edge congestion that's going to start taking place here. This is where things are getting real interesting here shortly. For Soneto, though, this duo has really not much to worry about, but now that the Surge has revealed itself, they're eyeing up this duo across from them, and they're going to go for the Shockwave play, likely.
Yeah, this is kind of the mind games that Storm Surge plays. You're 90 above that damage threshold, which kind of is like, cool, I don't have to worry about anything for this zone. But as you progress in the game, if you don't land any more shots, you will find yourself below that damage threshold. So it kind of leaves you with a choice. Do I go for damage early where not too many players are kind of squished close together in a close proximity? Or do I wait till later in the game where panic starts to set in all around the lobby? Definitely decisions need to be made. Golden Ozone, contested fight. Looks like they have survived that one. Just waiting in a bush, not trying to build to give away their location. Just trying to see if anybody strolls by and makes a mistake.
Yeah, this is a nice little bush to be playing, especially here on the outskirts of the zone, and little did they know they're about to get paid off. There's other duos working their way towards them here. You can see Zeely right beneath him. Now, do remember when we last saw Zeely, he was a solo, so these guys are moving with not much to work with. Oh gosh, and they open with a huge shot. Very smart by Golden, trying to break the structure down. Zeely goes down. There it is. He gets rewarded. So I'm thinking they understand his team's under Surge. That's going to be all the telling that they need here.
Yeah, that's just a huge signal. You don't necessarily see it in game. I know us kind of casting it, you see the players get like struck by Storm Surge. You don't necessarily see it while you're in game. The only real clue is the audio of the shields cracking, or just like that, no knock, straight elimination, and it happens yet again. Both of those eliminations get cleaned up, and how, just like you said, they're going to be rewarded tenfold. Patience absolutely pays off for Golden and Ozone, and now they're going to see more and more opportunities with other teams from outside of the zone making their way in.
Yeah, that was crazy. That team is keying them. They probably are also below the Surge here. We'll see what ends up happening there. Meanwhile, Soneto, Zikta, they took too long to initiate the battle on the team that was on the outskirts. They found themselves by themselves now at the Battlewood Woods here. And look, they have to fight their way towards the rest of the lobby here now. Finding themselves barely 40 above. Seems like something worked out in their favor. But either way, pressure is on them. This little opportunity they have right now to kind of reset, get back in the game, they shouldn't take it for granted. They need to be looking for activity here.
Yeah, they might not be in desperation mode just yet. You can see a bunch of empty item slots. I saw maybe 20 on the Chug Jug in Sonetto's inventory. So they might be all fine and dandy above the damage threshold, but they know with where it current stands, their loadout, the amount of resource they have, they're going to need an elimination. And even now, the next zone, they fall below that damage threshold even worse. You see him setting up for a pre-edit. They're on the clock here. They have to go, and they have to go now. Craze and King is the only team in front. They're trying to spray the build, get the pre-edit in, but King and Craze denied that opportunity 2 consecutive times, getting more and more damage onto Zypta and Sonetto without even moving a finger.
Yeah, this is tough spots for them to be, and they find Unreal Liana. Can they get in the box? It's not going to be enough damage if they get the body, but just like that, doesn't really matter. King and Craze timed their entry perfect off of that desperate team collapsing in, and they find themselves with even more points now. 7 eliminations, and we've barely touched the end game now. This is quite the performance for King and Craze.
That's just one of those moments, man, for King and Craze. They just make it in the zone, no intention of fighting. They're the ones who actually get aggressed on for a second. And then when the dust settles, Monster, they get 4 bodies worth of loot to go ahead and progress in this game as Boji does go down. 406 above the damage threshold, so the damage is not necessarily going to be a worry for Peterbot and Pollo, especially with their 2 eliminations here. It's more so about making it up the side of this mountain or through this cave.
This is really interesting. Another elimination now falling to Pollo's side here. Just getting the last little touch of damage here before the Surge actually supports them, but Pollo's not going to let this one up. They've intentionally chosen to come down and into this tunnel. They, of course, prefer to put themselves in a more advantageous spot, but Peterbot and Pollo looking pretty good right now. They just have to weather the storm, hopefully find some material count. They want to play this endgame out comfortably. Regardless, though, the way the kind of zone's playing out here, we'll be seeing them get active here shortly.
Yeah, they know how to find eliminations. They already got 3. Just looking towards the side, seeing Frenzy, seeing his duo. They immediately go to work. Frenzy's going to be the first one going down. Clicks is able to steal away that second elimination, but nobody's really closing the gap. It's still too much of a risk so far for Peterbot and Pollo to try to dive on over and steal away that loot. But you can see the attempt is in the back of their minds. They know they got to go to zone. They know these opportunities will come as this game progresses.
They're smart. Look, they're not even going to go for the loot. They seem to recognize, hey, that's a little too risky if we go to the outskirts, right? It'll allow the server to single us out. King, meanwhile, on the other side, jumps their way up to 8 eliminations, taking a little bit of that prestigious high ground there. But let's look at who's going to get situated first. Reed and Cooper have the high ground. Pollo lost on the rotate here. It was going to be a tough one. We knew it, but they needed that material. They were pretty desperate for it. Just as they were working their way across, they got caught out here. Meanwhile, Clicks and Rapid on the other side of the box here. Peterbot might actually make a really big play here.
Yeah, even more so. You see Rapid just trying to put down pressure onto one and finds Pollo. Wasn't even his initial target, but sometimes, Monch, we know you just got to take what you can get, and you can see why Peterbot was so concerned with them on the other side of that wall. But as you see where the zone is going, right now we're slightly moving up towards the top of that mountain. If it goes towards the west, if it goes towards the east, we'll keep that one in play. Anywhere else, it'll gradually get easier for the lobby, but you have to be able to survive up until that point.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not even sure if we saw the conclusion of Venno Agers hunting down Bucky, who got away, so it seems like that's still an ongoing situation, but Venno's the one that is obviously making their appearance here in this endgame. I see Booga and Braid still standing. Clicks and Rapid seem to be off to a strong start. Meanwhile, High Ground now gets sniped up by Venno. That's a key elimination for them. My gosh. Gets the elim, and now they get to rotate in time without taking any extra damage. Let's talk about a perfect turn of events for them.
Trying to figure out how they even got up there unnoticed, just step by step. He climbed up the mountain and just took out Cyclops. We saw Benno and Agers one side of the high ground, on the other, Reed and Cooper probably reading that they did pull zone. They immediately build up trying to keep it. A lot of extra heals in their inventory, but in the 8th zone, 39 builds on Reed. You gotta hope Cooper has more, because right now it is looking a little light to hold it for the rest of the game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I was just gonna say, you know they're gonna have the shockwave across, right, and get situated here if they want to have complete control. Someone looks to be contesting. I see Rapid down. Don't forget, Peterbot's still playing this as a solo right now as well. So a few big teams still surviving here. Clix now has to play this one out as a solo by himself as well. It's Braids on the other side of the wall alongside Booga. Clix, though, tries to fight his way into the Chug Splash. Definitely worth it. Meanwhile, here's Peterbot's POV. 4 Elans now has made his way to the new zone. He's just trying to download information here.
You know, but these are sometimes the best players in the world as a team, but there's just a different freedom when you're a solo, not having to worry about anybody but yourself, and that's what we're seeing here. Side by side, Peterbot and Clix, same scenario. It almost looks like 2 different outcomes coming out. Peterbot just putting full-on aggression onto a whole nother duo, not scared to back down, but he takes too much damage there in that situation, forced to stagger himself outside of the zone. And without any shockwaves, it's going to be tough for him to find his way back easily.
This is crazy. Peterbot goes for the full HP play as he tries to fight his way to mid-ground layer, but he gets put down. Meanwhile, Venno and Agers are still going here. Venno leading the charge here, finding the knock. Agers gets the follow-up right behind him. They're now at 3 eliminations here. Players on all sides of their walls, but opted to play the ultimate low ground. Meanwhile, Crazy and King are Elite leaders right now at 10 eliminations and still running through the lobby here. They have control, the complete control, actually, of the mid-ground layer here.
And they're looking up. Briefly aiming at Booga and Braids. Peterbot still lurking around. You're seeing it from 40 builds to 2. He's under pressure. King's going to get dropped. Craze left by himself. Only 70 on the Chug Jug. No way for him to get back up to full HP or shield without an elimination. Meanwhile, Peterbot's going to get the elimination onto King. Venno and Agers down below. They're going ahead and dodging all the chaos up above.
Yeah, listen, there's so many teams fighting their way through the mid layers because it went down, back down, kind of that mountain. But with Venno dropping to the ultimate low, now they're the first to take advantage of the teams trying to find their footing here. And this is working out so well. Look at the high ground position, though. It's Booga versus Cooper. Booga ends up on top. Braids is still holding on, though. And they're trying to situate themselves here, but it's cost them everything. They have no more materials left.
Yeah, you just got to hope that Braids has just enough for them, trying to pass them around. Looking down could be their only opportunity as Peterbot cleans up another back-to-back, getting both of those eliminations. Monster, we saw him almost on 0 builds a couple of seconds ago. My, how time flies, and now he's going up for the high ground. We know he's going to contest it all. 1v2 situation. He's trying to bring him back down to reality as he drops down, realizing it might not be worth the risk to use all these builds for a fight that is not going my way.
Peterbot is just different, right? You see the recognizing that he can go for something big there. Meanwhile, Peterbot versus Clix. Clix didn't want anything to do with that solo player. He had no idea it was Peterbot, but one thing was certain. It was danger nearby, and off he goes. I like this play by Clix, just trying to stay alive here and earn as many placement points as possible. This is a true clutch for both Peterbot, Booga, Clix, Venno. All these guys still holding on here in the lobby. Peterbot's still hunting right now, though. Clix gets away, finds Cooper, another solo on a different layer, and they are playing out of their minds here.
This game 1 is proving that primetime players making primetime plays. Peterbot finally gets shut down. His run has come to an end, but at what cost? One of the duos just got separated. Jez and Jerem goes down. 5's left by himself. That is because of Clix and his aggression. Kanata does it again, takes out the other part of that duo. A lot of these solos are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. That duo up above, they could smooth sail their way into a victory royale.
Listen, no pressure here for Clix or Kanata. They've done enough at solos. They pushed their way to the end game. Booga and Braids have the pressure on their shoulders to perform here. Braids falls first, but it's okay. Booga was there to back him up in the end there, Jacob.
What did Kelly say on day 1? In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. No, he is awake. He is roaring. He has now punched his ticket to the FNCS Major 2 Grand Finals.
I'm just gonna say, Booga! That's why you can never count out the lion. That's why you never count out Booga. That's why every time we look at Booga, we go, ooh, like Kelly said, ooh, this guy's so washed. Ooh, shut up, you don't know anything. Are you a lion? I don't think so. No, Kelly was... Kelly, oh my gosh.
Oh. Crazy stuff there, Kelly. But yeah, I mean, listen, Booga and Braids there jumping into the action. Game number 1. How in the heck have they done it? Kind of returning to the big stage here. Listen, this is exactly what we want to see from Booga and Braids. Obviously, we wanted to see them make it to the grand finals, but with a statement to be made as well, right? If you come out swinging, if you come out winning game number 1, I feel like it just adds a little bit more emphasis, if you know what I mean. And I kind of talked about it. The last time that we have unfortunately seen Booga himself in an FNCS finals was Chapter 6, Major number 3. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him at Global Championships, we didn't get to see him in Major 1 finals, and we did not get to see him at the Summit. So that's why it's been a long time since we've seen Booga himself. That's why those conversations were starting to kind of rile up. Oh man, how good is Booga? This is what he needed. He needed a statement to be made here in Heats. Obviously, we want to see him continue on with a performance like this in the grand finals, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing here, Z.
Dude, it looks so good. It's crazy. You guys didn't hear Kelly's just crazy joke. She just got me to laugh so hard. But I agree, man. It's crazy to see them. And the fact that we saw so many different fights there, like the fact that they jumped up, like we saw Cooper and Reed on the height, and Booga was like, bro, I'm going up there. I'm going into overdrive. I'm taking the fight to them. And then they walk away with a win in game number 1. I mean, dude, this looks so good. Kelly, are you there? Sounds like you are.
The mouth that I call Booga washed. Please do not say that. I was not calling Booga washed. I was saying that other people were calling him washed. But regardless, congratulations to Booga and Braids.
That's right. Guys, we're going to go to a break. When we return, we're going to take a look at some of the unfoldings of game number 1 by taking a look at the standings. So we'll see you right after this. Welcome back, Fortnite fam, to the FNCS. Game number 1 goes the way of Booga and Braids. That's right. Let's just stop questioning Booga on everything, okay? He's Mr. World Cup. Don't forget it. All right, though. A lot of, man, so much action happened in that last game with so many duos we're just used to seeing, or players that are, remember, we've seen a massive swap up. It kind of feels like sometimes, Kelly, every duo looked at each other like, hey, everybody move one to your left, and then that's the new duos. But in that last game, obviously, as we start to take a look at the standings, we see a lot of names here in this top 10 by themselves. Man, also a reminder, if we get a Victory Royale, we go to next week's finals. That means we're not going to be seeing Booga and Braids anymore today. Look forward to them next weekend. Or we need to end in the top 10 win consistency, which is basically the top 15. Kelly, Kanata Sphinx, currently first place.
Look at that, Kanata and Sphinx after that last game, and we saw that Kanata was a solo, but I feel like everyone at the end of that game besides Booga and Braze was a solo. We had Clicks, we had Peter, and then of course Kanata, though. It's those eliminations that they were able to garner on the low ground because there was just so much chaos going on. However, I will say we saw what I would consider a more typical high ground than what we've seen in heats for days 1 and 2, Vivid.
I mean, everything was actually going so crazy for Aegis and Veno there. Obviously, we did see them kind of steal away the high ground on the back foot of Veno, kind of making a little bit of a sneaky play up there to kind of steal it away is what it pretty much felt like. We're going to take a look at it right here. Just kind of walks up and is like, hey, by the way, I want high ground. Thank you very much. But after this moment, I mean, if you take a look at the material count and how they were kind of doing with their loadouts, they were doing kind of fine. But you fast forward just a little bit and they're no longer up on the higher ground. So they actually opted to potentially go ahead and give that one up. But after this, yeah, I thought they would kind of look to control the high ground, but they drop all the way down to the lower ground. Of course, they do end up having a good game, but it feels like they could have potentially given up that win condition here in game number 1.
Man, it looks, I'm shocked. I'm like reliving this game. And when I just look over my notes, I've written so many things. We talked about Kanata there and Sphinx in kind of in our first place for the moment. Let's look at second place, which is Clicks and Rapid. Guys, the fact that they got third place, Clicks being solo in this game, given how chaotic that was. I mean, Kelly, I'm liking this duo right now. I can't lie. I feel like Clicks has a bit of, confidence that I feel like maybe he's been missing.
Yeah, that momentum has definitely been picking up. It was a little bit lacking when they first formed Clicks and Rapid. However, as we've seen the Div Cups and as the season has progressed, there has definitely been a level of confidence and synergy that the two of them have been developing. And honestly, I think the biggest thing that we could have seen right there was Clicks coming out with the solo. Obviously, because he is the most popular Fortnite streamer in NAC, if not the world, a lot of people like to put targets on his back. So for Clicks to be able to come out in game number 1 as a solo and show up the way that he did is going to allow him to kind of prove to everyone that there is a reason that it's Clicks and Rapid, not Rapid and Clicks.
Let's go ahead and talk about that top 3 on consistency. I mean, Kanata, solo clutch from him. Clicks, a solo clutch from him. But a giant solo clutch from Peter Bot himself. I mean, we like to talk about the consistency of duos, but for right now, towards the top of the leaderboard, it has been all about the solo performances. We're going to go ahead and take a look at it quite soon. I think it was actually Clicks and Rapid that ended up taking out Polio on the back foot of Peter Bot, and Polio trying to make a little bit of a rotation here. So we will see Polio go down in just a quick moment. But yeah, I mean, Peter Bot kind of reminds everybody. I won't lie. For some reason, I shouldn't say for some reason, for good reason, the focus of this duo has kind of shifted to Polio being kind of like that star player on this team. But Peter Bot reminds us that it's both of them simultaneously. At a moment's notice, either one of them can have that pop performance, can kind of have that solo clutch to make sure they stay towards the top of the leaderboard. And that's why they're so scary as a duo.
I love it. And I mean, respect to Peter Bot, right? In that situation, he overdrives up. And I'm like, this is crazy. Yeah. This is kind of crazy. Takes one shot, misses, and goes, you know what? Maybe this isn't the play. And then completely disengages. Like, man, I just love to see Peter Bot's mind moving and then how he reacts. So crazy. Guys, I'm getting word though. Game 2 is ready. I'm ready to jump back into the action. Casters, are you?
100% ready for sure. I know coming into today, Monster, we knew there was a certain level of excitement to expect, but out of game one, early, you even had King and Craze felt like they spawned in with 6 eliminations.
Yeah, and you saw them still way up at the top of the standings based off of their eliminations alone, ending with 60 points earned, over 10 elims, which is crazy. So more than half of their points basically through just eliminations alone there. Jacob, talk about a performance.
Yeah, and I've obviously seen throughout the 2 days already, these solo clutches play a huge impact to being able to not have that desperation game 5 where you need a victory royale. It's going to keep my eyes peeled on that. And when you look at some of the damage stats from game number 1, Peterbot, Veno, King, top 3 in terms of overall damage. And then you have Booga, who already qualified with that last game and leaves a drop spot open. Who's going to take that drop, if anybody? Let's find out.
Well, with game 2 spinning up, I do want to highlight the broadcast made Veno look so good in that last game. Every time we jumped in, it was like we didn't miss a beat on his action. You just saw that he was navigating that low ground so effortlessly, and it almost seemed like no one wanted to go all the way down there. They didn't know what was going on, but either way, they pushed through very well. This is a bigger problem for them, of course, to worry about, right? You see how the drops actually playing out. Bucky and Cam go straight down for their side of the map. They seem to be getting their weapons first as well, which is really interesting because that can go either which way. But in the end, Veno and AJ have enough time here, right? They're giving them too much time, I feel like, to get situated and then take the fight on their terms.
100%, and I think that's just a little bit of something they're going to have to learn as the game progresses, and you're going to have to start to act quick as a team like Veno and Agers. Once they get enough points where they feel like they qualified, who knows what type of animals we'll see then. It's Peterbot Pollo, business as usual. We saw this in that last game. They landed at their drop spot. Pollo does stay in the POI. Peterbot does tend to try to go for that Warforged Mythic AR this time around. I'm not sure if it actually did spawn there. We'll see if he gets his inventory later. But I talked about Golden Grove, Booga, and Braids winning game number 1. They will not be in the rest of today's action because they're already in the Major 2 finals. And now you have 3 teams now landing at Golden Grove.
Yeah, I was already calling out the fact that there were over 10 duos being contested across the map in general. It is no surprise right now that with Booga falling this early, a named POI is going to get sniped up right away. I mean, you have a lot of action here. You even have some relatively solid players like Tsunami's Amplify and Laura's here. Very, very stand-up individuals. They were before kind of taking that outskirt. We saw them lurking on that other team fight, but I guess they're doing the math and say, hey, why fight for scraps so we can fight for the whole POI?
I mean, that's usually what I think. If you're going to contest something, make it worth it if you win. But when 4 different teams have that same idea, kind of turns into a slugfest. Punches being thrown around. Bubba trying to use the shockwave to get a little bit of advantage on the Amplify. He cracks the shield. He's trying to go ahead and figure out where that elimination's at. But you can see he's running out of SMG ammo. Does not have a shotgun. And 0 when it comes to those materials.
Yeah, one player doesn't have mass. The other doesn't have ammo. This is a tough spot to be in. Amplify is going to be the first to fall there, unfortunately. And they're getting hunted down. And I had high hopes for Loris. He did get a knock there, so anything can still happen. He still has a couple of shields to work with, but with no material count, desperation kicks in. They get hunted and found out, and just like that, those 2 fall. Now the RGN duo has arrived here. They're looking to clean up house.
Slip and slide their way into that box. Good damage on the Cyros. Weaving in and out of these boxes to try to stay alive, draw for time. So many of these players either got eliminated or kind of disengaged already, so it's basically a full target on your back until you're just eliminated out of the game altogether. Realize, Afonso, they went ahead and took an opportunity, and they cashed in on it.
Yeah, well played for them. They didn't get a bulk of points, but they got a few. Meanwhile, let's look at this. Clix and Rapid. So much attention on what Rapid brings to this duo. I feel like we were discounting Clix's ability to perform in last game. He really just showed up, It's not often I feel like we see Clix really come out strong in an initial game like that, but I love what we're seeing. I'm thinking that maybe that Pro-Am just kind of, broke his mentality a little bit, right? It's, got the weight off his shoulders, and he's feeling good now. He's playing a little bit more freely, a little bit more relaxed.
I think partly that comes in with how relaxed Rapid is as an IGL. I think he understands mistakes happen in the course of a game of Fortnite. It's just about how you react and handle those mistakes. Click's still lurking around. You see the pre-edit coming in. That's going to be the first wall being taken. They're trying to push him back further and further. This is where they do have to be careful, because when a fight gets chaotic, sometimes mistakes do tend to happen. But that team that they're going up against fully disengages, going underneath, one way in, one way out. And that's where Clicks and Rapid have to make the decision to disengage, because it's not worth their time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was sick though. Setting up the pre-edit like that, making the call to go for it. The timing was almost impeccable, but all good. Rapid and Clicks end up disengaging, kind of getting back to the drop. See how this ends up playing out for them. Not sure if they actually even got any real damage there, so still they're gonna have an uphill battle to work against. Meanwhile, Diego, Kaki disengaging from their fight as well.
You can see in the mini-map where it looks like a lot of attention over towards the Battle Woods, the surrounding area as well. We don't necessarily know. It's very, very early to see where the zone is beginning to pull, but typically when a lot of the early game teams start to pull in one direction, you can see where they have their minds at. King and Craze lurking around yet again, waiting for what looks like Wikipedia to try to make a mistake, refarm the tree. There goes King. Big shots being fired off, essentially dropping him down to just a sliver of HP already. Now Craze comes in to crash the party. They get their first elimination here. And this is where we're seeing the difference between them and some of the other teams in the lobby. You know, they just go and build their surge bases. They trade for tags and they overstay their welcome in the zone. King and Craze is looking like last chapter or last duo where Peterbot and Poyo were just W-king the lobby to get their surge. That's what King and Craze are looking like right now.
Yeah, playing it like a pub game, playing it like a cash cup, staying fluid on the move, looking for action on the go, and it's working out really well for them. You know, it plays in so well into their playstyle because, again, King was putting players down in set lobbies with even, you know, circumstances. I mean, you send them on the run, and all of a sudden now that little advantage, right, having the ambush at play, it's really hard to take them down essentially when he has that advantage with him.
Especially with how quick he can maneuver around. See Zusto, Malcolm trying to go ahead and take advantage on one. Almost looks like you can see what happened. A reboot really gave away their position. A lot of noise and kind of gives up the thought of, hey, one of those guys are respawning in. Possibly only 3 builds, no real weaponry to fight against them, and that's why I feel like you see them chasing on over towards that solo.
Yeah, I was going to say, the fact that Marks wasn't building there, Zusto knows he's got a huge advantage. There it is. The Storm does the rest for him. Does just enough damage, but Malcolm, Zusto now, I feel like officially ran out of, heals here for the time being, so Zusto's kind of holding the body there. He still has the Siphon to come. Luckily, the duo ends up leaving the drop. He could have made that really bad for all of them, to be honest.
See how Wonky Land's playing out right now. Contested, uncontested. I feel like Reet and Cooper are kind of ready for whatever gets thrown their way. You know, they played a divisional cup and things didn't necessarily happen the way they wanted to at Wonky Land. And since that day, I have not seen anybody play as many off-spawn practice games as Reet and Cooper. Doesn't matter who the competition is. They just want to make sure they get as many reps as possible underneath their belt. So their team in today's lobby, I wouldn't necessarily agree with contesting, but hey, sometimes you just got to play your game out. And you see him where the zone is pulling. Very, very familiar to last game, Monster.
Yeah, definitely. You know, just on the topic of Reed and Cooper, I mean, super fan of them both, just their personalities. I think they match each other really well, so I expect, again, Reed to continue to be that sleeper person who just performs really well, right? And almost stays out of the conversation, sneaks into top 3s and 5s. Either way, though, Venno and Agers, the activity has continued to stay up. They already have 2 eliminations, mind you. So this is just icing on the cake at this point.
Yeah, game 1, Bucky was able to escape off the drop, survive a little bit longer to play that game out just a little bit. This time around, they're able to win that off-spawn fight convincingly. You can see Plur and Regular just not really backing down from this fight, and they were the ones that took the most of that damage early on. And now they have the high ground over a team like Venno and Agers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, when I saw Venno and Agers kind of taking control of the tower, I was like, all right, that makes sense. But then to see him shockwave over, I was like, oh, you got a lot of heart to do that. Meanwhile, Rhea and Cooper's kind of doing their thing on this side. Look at this, a fresh set of eliminations and so much loot to choose from. This is like a mega pickup. Unfortunately, it's outside the storm, so they're not going to be able to do much with it.
Yeah, just kind of cap off what they're missing. Go right back on over to Wonky Land. The zone is relatively close to where they can use that combination of the Shockwave and the Wonky Wheel to cover distance quick. This is how they were able to pick up those eliminations. They went from actual POI Wonky Land, probably using that wheel, closing the difference towards the outskirts, and just taking advantage of a team who probably got caught off guard.
Yep, that's how it goes sometimes. You can't let your guard down, especially when someone's got the ability to rotate like that. Meanwhile, look at Boji here. Still has chugs to work with, so you have some heals, but I'm gonna go with the med kit first for him. I like this play, trying to reserve the chugs, of course.
Especially when you gotta realize, you know, you just got off a fight, you got an elimination. Chances of being able to go back to Heatwave Harbor to visit that mending machine, probably slim to none. Probably not worth the risk either, so they're just gonna keep it moving with the elimination and the loot that they just got. Waste no time trying to get to the zone, coming in from the south side of the map, and that's where it could tend to be a little bit more stacked, the south and the eastern edge, where most of the lobby will begin to come in from. But this is also a team, Skittle, Cayenne, that you noticed in the last game, landing over towards the chop shop. There's not going to be a lot of teams that rotate around this area until later on in the game. They just have to be above the damage threshold until then.
Yeah, with no elims, hard to tell where they stand for the most part. Take a look at this. Nice little rotate going on here for Cooper and Reed.
Ooh.
Shooting
I remember seeing this. So the trick to this is, right, so if you guys want to try to do this at home, you got to like pickaxe or use the rapid fire SMG to get that out of the mini game, right? And instead of pickaxing it, the reason why you use the rapid fire SMG because it deals the least amount of damage to the flotation device. It'll literally bring you across the map like you see Reed and Cooper do in probably less than a minute. And this is something that kind of blown up on social media within the last couple of days. So Reed and Cooper really putting all the community's theories to the test.
Yeah, I saw someone talking about it. They were like, wait a second, what is this? And it was just some random team, right, that discovered like a really cool tactic. And all of a sudden now, of course, it's getting adopted into the competition here. Nice little find for them. Free med kit. Meanwhile, you have Kanata and Sphinx camping out in a building nearby. This can be very dangerous. Not sure what their game plan is currently. Okay, just seems like this is a pit stop on the way as they have the mending machine here.
No matter what they see here, Reed and Cooper probably crouched down. They know the risk any mending machine possesses, especially this late in the game where we move from 4th zone to 5th zone, but Kanata and Sphinx on the whole other side, not really trying to lock that one down. So Reed and Cooper are going to be able to kind of hold that position to themselves, but they got to be a bit quick here in this situation. It did go from a 1-tick zone to a 2-tick zone, and most of this lobby, as you've seen, they've spent it deep within the zone, so they got to hurry up before they start to go ahead and take that storm sickness warning.
Yeah, definitely. You see there, they find that extra chug. They take advantage of just trying to cap off to the best of their capabilities, but the 2-tick is just so brutal. Even when you're in the storm for this little bit of time, already it's going to cost them at least a full med kit. Now you have Kanata Sphinx under the same problems. Pocoyo has the duo right on their heels as well. Sphinx and Kanata are going to just base down here because they found themselves too close to that other team, want to heal instead.
Not necessarily the worst play, especially, you know, experts, you know, you fight inside of the zone like this. Sometimes you end up in a no-win situation where even if you win the fight, making it out is going to be near impossible. Just kind of continue to look around a lot of the action around the map. You can kind of see the solo clutch points from game number 1, how it's really impacting the leaderboard. Most of those teams landing in and around the top 5 after those solo clutch performances. And that's got to be a boost of confidence for all of the duos, specifically Rapid. Try to boost his confidence right now with Clicks, knowing with or without him in the game, you know, his IGL prowess, even if he's eliminated, can still play a role in Click solo clutching.
See how good of a job they do as well, being able to rotate and maintain that momentum. Really optimizing each and every shockwave like that was perfect. Small find there too, but look at this Higgs and Curve. Nice little elimination there. It's going to end them up with some points, and this is what happens when you're the last to rotate. And now look, the warning's going to tell Kanata he's actually 195 below. This is a very tough spot to be in after such a strong first game. Luckily for him, he does have that cushion, and he may not be out yet. Okay, as I was going to tee it out, I was like, it's not looking too good. Creon's going to end up with the elimination and the refresh there. Well played for them.
Hopefully they can go ahead and kind of figure out what went wrong. Very, very similar zones from game 1 to game 2. Obviously this one around here in the 6th zone, we are moving a little bit more towards the south. Short celebration though for Higgs and Curve. They get that one elimination you were talking about, immediately become a target of the lobby, but only for a short second as they quickly start to rotate on out. I think they're learning, just like everybody else, you don't want to be one of the last teams to try to make it there. You don't want to be one of the first teams either, given an open opportunity to try to continue to connect with shots.
Yeah, too many teams got that little bit of natural elevation right there. And they're going to be targeting all the fresh builds. Peterbot, Boyo already on the move right here. Do the same thing like the other teams, just trying to keep themselves protected, but Boyo gets rolled up on. Peterbot's here to back him up. In a quick turn of events right there for one team. Make it for another as well. What is happening? This is like the spider's web. And they're catching everyone coming through.
And there's just another one from behind.
Crazy.
Yet again, they're just pouring in one after the next, and Pete is just taking them out, crossing them off the list. Big shot being traded off from Tenya, though, to slow down the roll that Peterbot has on. And this is the thing I feel about this duo. We're always talking about how great Peterbot is. Obviously, since the Summit land, people calling Boyo probably one of the best players in NA as of now. I feel like they have like small competitions within one another to see who gets more eliminations, who has better solo clutches, and when Dust right now is just getting a little chaotic, they know how to play together as a team.
Yeah, that was so aggressive right there by Peterbot and Boyo. They go for that fight, just trying to really punish the team behind them that thought they were going to be able to jump into their box. And it cost them a fair bit of their remaining heals, but in the end, it alleviates the pressure from the duo. And they have enough mats to take the distance here. Look at this, nice little fresh pickup there, trying to bait the loop, but no one goes for it fast enough. There's a nice upgrade for them.
You just hear all that noise, all that fighting going down underneath, and you just kind of taking it step by step, assessing the situation. Shots come off on their layer, so they're going to backtrack in their steps. Reet and Cooper, though, all the way from Wonky Land. They're going to be the first team on the high ground. 7th zone, though, we've already seen it in game 1. That could be a little bit early to try to invest everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, pretty impressive for them to be the team right now to try to identify as the high ground duo. 2 games in a row now position themselves up for hype. Here's King and Craze. A little bit less of an elimination tear that they're on this game, but nonetheless, they're one of the healthiest here coming off of a fresh refresh there. So very big material counts in their inventory. Meanwhile, Veno Agers looking very strong and healthy as well here. This time, not as desperate to be down on the low ground, playing for the mid layer. So we're probably going to be seeing a high ground fight here.
Just got to be careful. I feel like this lobby is stacked with teams that have the potential to go for the high ground. As King and Craze is going, looking towards the backside of zone. They have the benefit of the doubt. 900 above the damage threshold, but that's not a worry. They just have to wait for 3 players to go down. Poyo gets another elimination, kind of easing up on that pressure. On one side, we got Golden. On the other, we got Clicks and Rapid. I knew I didn't see Reet and Cooper no longer on the high ground as Clicks and Rapid are the team to overtake them, but they're below the damage threshold.
Yeah, just a couple players have to fall here, and they realistically are the only team there. They just need a little bit of damage, but no one's revealing themselves. So much metal and just hugely fortified bases around them. They can't afford to open fire. Here comes some fresh builds. Finally, they get some damage there. It cost them a fair bit. Rapids really hurt on that rotate, actually. It's Peterbot and Boyo who take the opportunity to go for high ground, and now it's his playground to mess around with. They're doing what they need to do, elevating themselves ever so higher. This is a perfect spot for them now.
Just melted Zen flying through the sky. Poyo's the one that's going to get credit for that one. But like you said, kind of reinforcing their position, building up higher so they can kind of hear the warning of those shockwaves if any team looks to contest them. King and Craze probably have no plans for that being a possibility. They've just been dominating this low ground. Even without eliminations, they're pushing team after team off of their layer, making sure they control as much of the tempo as possible, even bypassing Reet and Cooper, building above them so they have the double edits in case they try to continue that path.
Yeah, I don't really see much in the way to stop King and Crazy here. They've been playing so well. You look at the rotates that they're putting out as well. There's no one giving them any resistance, but meanwhile, Higgs and Curve are the team on the low ground. There's always one, and for now, it's them right here. They seem to be running things up right now. 4 eliminations, plenty to work with as well as far as heals are concerned. Here comes the Shockwaves from the outskirts. Really nicely done, but targeted from Peterbot Foyo up top. That Mythic AR just shreds the moment he catches contact.
Yeah, nobody can kind of reveal themselves for too long before they risk going down. Clicks and Rapid. You can see the struggles that they're going through. Clicks, not a lot of builds. They're trying to find elimination. They did get a knock, but King and Craze finally have their plan settled out. They're looking up, trying to chop them down, but they've drawn the attention of Peterbot and Foyo. They know that's the second height team, the threat that they need to watch out for, but there's still Veno, Agers, Higgs, Curve. You see them lurking in the backside of the zone as well.
Yeah, King and Craze probably looking to set up the Shockwaves. You see them crouched up, just again peeking through those cones, waiting for an opportunity. Anyone moving on the outsides, King's got that covered as well. They just seem to have their bases fully locked in right now. There comes some pressure from a team up top, but again, not enough to make them have to worry. The distraction's on though. Rapid now forced to put up a Clicks-like performance here by himself. Zifta, Sinetto finding their activity here. That's actually onto Boyo. Okay, and now they end up with high ground. So we already saw Boyo and Peterbot getting a little bit desperate. They were starting to run out of material, and it does start to come to light here.
Yeah, that was Peterbot. You're talking about somebody's dropping down. It was him from above trying to get any of these refreshes until he finally runs into King, and King cuts him short. 5th elimination for this duo, but even King gets cut short. What is today, Monster? It seems like solo clutch performance after solo clutch performance. Even Veno having to leave Agers behind. He's healing up. Veno's building the path. This might be one of the stronger duos we have left alive in this game.
Yeah, definitely, and Veno's just playing so well. He just takes down each of those eliminations. We're seeing him continue to shine here, but look at this. Craze, although he lost King, is still playing it out by himself right now. He's at 7 eliminations. Veno, Ager still going. Afonso falls here as well. And now they're working their way down, going through the motions here. A little bit of a refresh for Veno's going to set them up nice. Cooper and Retho from the high ground down to the depths here are forced to try to play this from the low ground.
Yeah, you can see 2 different med kits. You gotta wonder what the HP's like. Higgs, the only solo left in this game right now. 17 builds, but no chance to recover any HP outside of elimination. Veno, Agers push into a whole nother team, gets the full box. Damage is there, but they're able to slither their way on out the bottom of that box. Veno and Agers, though, just trying to go ahead and dominate this layer, pushing all these teams off, but right now it's high ground that they have to worry about.
But high ground, we haven't quite seen what their material counts are looking for. They get double chopped there, sharing the builds. Veno goes up, taking full advantage, but so does Zepta, and Veno with a monster shot. Agers with the backup as well. Each of them win their wins, but they get sent shocked out. He comes back, and they manage to recover themselves there. We're about to see a 2v2 with Contrap in the mix.
It's just really telling where if Contrap goes up, gives an advantage to Reed and Cooper, but he's working his way on down, trying to take the fight against them themselves. Veno and Age are still up above. He's figuring out a way to kind of go underneath the radar, not be noticed up until now, but eventuality will happen. The zone will close, and that's where he has to try to make a move. That's where Reed shuts him down. Veno and Agers drop down from above. They trade eliminations back and forth. Agers in a 1v1 against Cooper, and it's Reed and Cooper out of nowhere that steal away their limelight and advance to the grand finals.
Contrap came through, was just a distracting factor. The siphon keeps one alive while the other exchanges the shots. That's that little bit of unpredictability you never know that you're going to get with Fortnite there, Zeke, but what a game.
No big deal, MDF. No big deal. Just a global champion going ahead and say, hey, you know what, a major finals, I guess I'll go ahead and claim a spot going on over. Not a big deal. And, of course, Kelly, I know you're excited because he's paired up with Reed, and that's your favorite player.
Listen, I don't want to be biased, except I do. Reed and Cooper coming out on top, waiting for the final moments to engage that fight. They probably knew that Veno and Agers were up on height, and so they waited. They were patient in that final moments, Vivid, and that's really where it came down to AJ versus Cooper. And listen, we all know Agers is an incredible fighter, but Cooper, the global champion, man, you know he's never done an out.
I mean, Cooper just kind of running around on the low ground. I like the catchphrase there. Just keep on shooting, man. It looked like he had so many targets to keep hitting, right? Had to go ahead and hit the knockdown body, so that way he kind of got the siphon to kind of join the mixer to help him out just a little bit. And then he turns around a little 180 to go ahead and close things out. But game 2, man, a little bit crazy. This one went actually all the way the distance. We almost closed out the zone here, closed into the storm. And listen, over the course of the first 2 heats, man, these games were kind of ending early, but with 2 healthy duos left alive, they kind of pushed it all the way to the limits here. But it was a great battle between Veno and Agers and Cooper and Reed. But when everything was said and done, Cooper kind of turns around, hits the shot necessary, and you can kind of see those margins. He just had a sliver of HP to do it, but Cooper clutches out.
My gosh, man, if you had told me this was like if you just said, hey Zeke, this is the finals lobby, I would 100% believe you, right? Like this, yeah, there's so many things that happen. Again, shout outs to Reed and Cooper. They have they've secured themselves rather a spot on the battle bus going to next weekend's finals. Bummer we won't get to see more of them today, but there's still 3 games to go. So many more teams could clutch up a VR. So for now, a break. When we return, we break down more of the leaderboard and prepare ourselves for the halfway point. See you in a moment. Welcome back, Fort FM, to the FNCS. It's great to see you. If you just missed it, Game 2, Reed and Cooper got a victory royale, which means they're going straight through to finals next weekend. And in case you missed Game 1, Booga and Braids went over to them. A lot of crazy things happening here, but friends, we cannot forget that Reed Cooper 2v2 came down against none other than Veno and Agers. It could have gone either way, but man, Veno and Agers getting a second place with 10 eliminations. Oh my gosh, this is what I like to see, Kelly. This is what I like to see.
I mean, yeah, they have 2 games played out of 5, and they already have 137 points. Benno and Agers have been able to make it to the end game both times, and I just don't think that there is too much of a concern for how they have been performing. They have just been playing this so well on the low and mid ground, waiting for the perfect moment to go for height, and honestly, they've just been doing it so cleanly. Yes, it is unfortunate that they have not been able to get the win, but as far as Benno and Agers are looking right now, Vivid, I love to see this.
Whenever we take a look at teams and how well they're doing, one of my favorite things in Fortnite is recognizing a team that can play several different play styles. And so far, in just the first 2 games, Agers and Benno have showcased that both times. I mean, they were kind of playing for the higher ground in game number 1. They ended up giving it up and kind of playing front low. But this time around, they were kind of playing mid ground, looking for some refreshes. And once they got them, then they decided to go ahead and overdrive up to high ground and kind of contest for it. A second place with 10 eliminations. It was so close between them winning that 1v1 in the end, between winning that game, but really, really like what I'm seeing out of Agers and Benno right now.
Dude, I'm also just looking at this top 5, man, right? Remember, BR means we go straight through the finals. We're not going to be seeing the first 2 for the remainder of the day, but we've got to be ending the top 10 of consistency, which is basically the top 15. Okay, sorry, I always had to repeat that. Kingling and Craze, though, we've now had 2 pretty solid games. Also, kind of like what you're pointing out, Kelly, only after 2 games, breaking into the triple digits already. I mean, Kelly, Kingling and Craze, they're looking good.
Yeah, as far as what we've seen from Heats 1 and 2, getting 2 really good games where you're kind of in the top 10, 1 kind of okay game, and then you could even have 2 kind of bad games is all you need, because top 15 out of 50 teams, although it sounds like not that difficult of a feat, it is still challenging when you consider how many big names are in Heat number 3 right now. But as far as Craze and Kingling, I am not too worried right now. Like you said, they're currently sitting in 2nd place as far as consistency, but the concern that I have for everyone right now, Vivid, is that you look at the names on that list. We got Kingling, Peterbot, Clicks, Higgs, Creon, Kanata, and that's just page number 1, right? There is so many big names that have not solidified their spot into the grand finals. So even if you are making it to the end game every single time, all it takes is for just one random zone pull to go into the favor of your opponents, and then that is going to put you down the leaderboard.
Kingling is actually our individual eliminations leader right now. He has 12, but there is one other player who's actually joined him in double digits with 10 of their own. It's Peterbot, man. We know him. We love him. He's always going to be picking up those eliminations. But like I said already, Kingling currently has the lead in just after 2 games. But it's so impressive that we already have a couple of players entering double digits after just 2 games. It's kind of cool because obviously we always look towards Peterbot and Polio to kind of be that duo that's going to pick up those most eliminations. I think it was in game number 1 where a stat flew about the play-ins, and I think it said that they had 4 games with 30 plus eliminations in the play-in. So these guys are all about the eliminations. I will say, unfortunately for us and unfortunately for them, they haven't actually made it to the 10th, 11th, 12th zone in these first 2 games as a complete duo so far. Unfortunately, Polio has gone down a little bit early, so Peterbot has kind of been left as a solo, which is why he probably is picking up some of those individual eliminations. But they're still chilling, 3rd place in consistency.
It's interesting you point that out, because I feel like when we think back to Summit, it was actually the other way around, right? There was a lot of solo clutches off the back of Polio, but now we're seeing it off of Peterbot. Kelly, Viv, I mean, is this just them playing around? Is this just them being little silly little guys until finals?
I don't know about silly little guys, but I think that, yeah, they're not necessarily playing to the full extent that we know Peterbot and Polio to play, because they're not necessarily worried. They have already stated to Faxity that they are willing to lose a season to gain a global championships. Now, I don't necessarily think that that is going to be the concern for them anymore, because Benno and Agers is no longer landing where they're landing. But I do think that Peterbot and Polio, unlike everyone else, has nothing to prove. They've already proven enough.
Do you agree with that, Viv? You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, Peterbot and Polio, we know how they play Heats, man. They're playing for the Elims. They're playing for fun. They want to play all 5 games.
Okay, I like that. Okay, game 3 is ready. This is about to be the halfway point. So some of these duos, they need to pick it up if they hope to make the finals next weekend. For now, casters, take it away.
You know, keeping that as a running thought, Jacob, I'm thinking Benno and Agers might be kind of happy Cooper just clutched up and played well, because they get to continue to target Bucky.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one right there. And honestly, I even see a scenario that maybe we see Veno, Agers, Peterbot, Pollo take each other on throughout the course of these games. Both of them have proven they do want high ground, but this leaderboard is stacked. Top 15 is looking hard to get. Let's go ahead with game 3.
What a plot twist would that be now if Veno and Agers are like, hey, what's up, Peterbot? How's your tournament going? He still has quite the way to go to be completely safe. That, Jacob, would be pure cinema, as they like to say. Now I'm thinking, that's what I want to see here.
Yeah, I'd definitely be here for it. Sometimes nothing to lose, play for entertainment. But Just Jerem, vibe, 63 points so far. Not necessarily where they probably would have hoped to go, but as it stands as of now, they're within reach of that bubble, if not inside of it, and that's pretty impressive. Go to say they're not only contested at Latte landing, they have to worry about Kanata and Sphinx landing on that western side, that mountain split that could potentially third party, if not directly, with shots in the distance.
Yeah, this drop's definitely slowed down a bit comparatively to the last few rounds. Getting to the drop, though, Veno, Agers sticking to their true and trusty situation. They're about another big endgame away from being completely solidified into the finals, and they can do what they want from that point onwards. But just playing their game seems to be going very well for them. They're clearly the strongest duo in the lobby right now as far as their overall performance is concerned. And it's what we expected, though, right? Like, we knew this was going to be a tough heat, but we also knew players like Veno and Agers should fare well.
Yeah, and honestly, you kind of look at the other side of that drop spot. Veno and Agers don't necessarily have to do anything different. Bucky and Cam, however, have to figure out how they're going to make it deep into some of these games with the target on their back. Because we know Veno and Agers want uncontested. Even some of these split drops here, finding a little struggles to get all their loot. Everybody just kind of grabbing scraps, sharing mending machines to try to see what bit of action they can get out of this early game. Cluster Coast, just as contested as last, and kind of something that you said earlier on. You know, a couple of these drops seem to be slowing down versus the first 2 games that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I think reality's setting in here, right, for the opponents. Like, you're starting to think, dude, we're 3 points, we're 6 points. Like, what's going on? We can't keep playing this way. We need to survive a little bit longer. And that's why we're seeing stuff slow down. On the other side, you're having these inexperienced teams that have never maybe made a finals or have only been there a few times. They're at 50 points. They're kind of in the conversation. And they have to decide to themselves, is it worth even fighting at this point? Like, we just need to keep making end games and we'll go to finals. So I think we have a very interesting dynamic taking place here as we're in the middle of game number 3.
See Sphinx looking on over towards Latte. Gonna be the easiest shot they have to get Surge in this early game. Dragon and Creon having this whole back mountain to themselves. 84 points, faring well, able to kind of get that mythic pistol in their inventory. The biggest thing that they lack right now, or at least just looking at Dragon's inventory and even now Creon's, they have 3 shockwaves. Typically, both of the duos will carry 6 shockwaves each for a total of 12. They do have gold to buy more shockwaves, but they're just probably waiting to see what they can find.
Yeah, as much as I like the gliders, you know, they look cool and all that, they're just not as good as shockwaves, of course. Veno, Agers on the hunt right now. It's not onto the Buckies and the Cams of the lobby. It's onto Wikipedia, who's also just outside the harbor playing his split drop, and to catch him off by himself. This is just practice, it looks like, honestly, for finals here. The options to do what they need to do at their drop and then crank their way outwards. Meanwhile, you see that duo in the distance there, hearing what's going on, hesitant to even go that way at the moment.
Even seeing Bucky and Cam in the distance. Talked about changes up right now. They're leaving Heatwave Harbor early. Clicks in Rapid. They're able to find that first elimination, and one of the biggest things, you know, at one point or another, we're talking about Peterbot, Pollo contesting Veno and Agers. It was actually Peterbot and Pollo contesting Clicks and Rapid at the Shaken Sanctuary. It was because the cube moved, or at least the movable cube, where you can kind of launch yourself off of it from Sinister Strip to the Sanctuary. Clicks and Rapid had the idea in their head. Peterbot and Pollo are going to switch the drop. We just have to weather the storm until then, and now they're not only taking that drop, but that's what they're using to fly around and get some of these early games eliminations.
Yeah, the power of being able to land anywhere you want really keeps you super dynamic. It's more of a problem for everyone else. Vibes and G's, look at this lurk spot. It's not even well hidden. He's behind some small table here, but gotta appreciate the effort. See, jumps off with the shockwaves, stays there a little too long. His teammate doesn't come to back him up, and they just make the call to jump on him. Kind of like this play right here. I think this works out really well for them. The teammate is here, though, so now we're looking at more of an old-fashioned 2v2.
A little bit of advantage, though, going on over to Minty and Autumn. Jez Jerem just seems to be weak beyond belief. No shield, just HP, and they finally go ahead and get the drop on him. Vibes is there by himself. And Monchi's not going to be by himself for long. Both of them get sent back to the lobby together. And interesting thing, Kanata and Sphinx, they just kind of watching it all play out on the mountain. I'm not sure how much surge they got in this game, but that could be one of the downfalls, missing out on an opportunity there.
Impressive job there. Some quality right camera peaks and really just a textbook way to turn that fight around. That was when they shouldn't have won either, given that they had the health disadvantage there. But neither here nor there. They'll have to live and learn. Peterbot Boyo still has all the time in the world, taking their time here. Normally, Peterbot's kind of on the outskirts by now, looking around for a fight to jump on. So a little bit of a different strategy at play. I wonder if the zone is kind of playing into that. We'll have to download that information here in a bit, but jump into the high ground where Golden and Ozone are situated. This is your very standard surge base, and according to the map, we don't see much action nearby, so pretty slow game for them.
Yeah, still relatively early. Nobody kind of rotating on out from their drops or their splits just yet. They can go ahead and look towards the north. You'd probably see the same thing for Kanata and Sphinx, just trying to take advantage of the early game zone. Just like you want to accumulate damage for Storm Surge, you don't want to take damage either. So that's why you see some of the teams with power positions early on just kind of bunker down, park it, and just wait for opportunities to come their way. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Poyo, you said typically you do see them on the outskirts, and right now we're seeing them on the outskirts. They just got to wait for any opportunity they feel like they can take advantage of. An isolated team, bridge and natural terrain covering them from the distance. Peterbot stealing not just one, but two different covers there to try to push the fight.
Yeah, I'm looking at it like, how did you even get that wall, son? Like, that was crazy. And then for him to know that he took the two walls, just impressive all around. You know, my brain can't even keep up. I feel like I'm on a ping delay right now. Like, what's going on? That was insane. But all good. Peterbot Boyo have full control of the fight here. It's very standard for them to play separate angles, each of which are so fast and deadly on their own. Normally, this fight would have ended already, so Cash putting up a great defense here as they scramble around and barely slip out. But look at how much of these walls are in control of Peterbot and Boyo. Here they come. Just trying to reset. Peterbot making sure there's no one above them.
Ooh, I was about to say, you got to be careful for a fight like this for Peterbot and Poyo. It is taking quite a long time, and even though they're landing shots, they're also taking an immense amount of damage. Poyo right there, probably over 200 damage being dealt to Peterbot and Poyo, and that's why they're consistently trying to give it back. Great damage there from Poyo. Even without the elimination, you can kind of see what they're fighting for. We both know Storm Surge is like currency. It allows you to travel through the map with a little bit less stress and desperation throughout the course of the game. But Peterbot gets tagged up yet again. They're doing such a good fight on the side of Spear and Cash to slow down the roll of Peterbot and Poyo. Something I definitely didn't expect after the two hot streak games that we've seen.
Yeah, I think Peterbot was a little bit frustrated there that he didn't get the initial elimination when Cash slipped out the box, because you noticed that he was second guessing himself time and time again, thinking, no, this guy's above me. Like, I saw him there, but he had already jumped to lower layers. So definitely a little bit of frustration setting into Peterbot's play there. You give them enough time, though, they're going to figure it out.
People are wondering why King and Craze, seeing what's going down there in the feed. I did see it. Not sure if it was King or Craze, but I do know they did get that knock and elimination onto Agers. Probably looking for Veno, but he's going to be able to disengage. As Cash and Spear still doing a good job of holding their ground, but you know, for both of the teams in this position, Peterbot and Poyo and included, you know, look at the resource count. Look at the amount of heals. They've drained so much here in this game, and right now, Peterbot puts himself in another peculiar situation. Lands a haymaker onto Spear, but he gets dropped down to 30 HP or so.
Yeah, you know, at first I was thinking, yeah, they've done enough to still have a damage lead, but now I'm convinced they're actually way behind, and this is a net negative game for them. This is starting to look really bad. They've exhausted half of their material count, most of which is the heavy mats, and the team that they're fighting has used everything. So now it's not even going to be worth it as far as the refresh is concerned.
It's almost feeling, you know, that sunken cost fallacy or the lost cost fallacy where they've just invested so much into this fight already. In their head, it's almost pointless to disengage at this time. But they do see that the Sinister Strip's still there. The back mending machine is there, but Peterbot goes down again, just biting off more than he can chew in some of these situations. That's got to be a confidence boost for Spear and Cash if they finally realized who they're going up against. But surviving the fight is not enough. They have to go ahead and find that second eliminations, but it's going to be a little too late. Poyo is going to disengage on out, and they just got a huge upgrade due to the loot that Peterbot dropped.
Yeah, Boya going straight for the reboot right away. You know, I was just thinking, like, they also secured all the loot there, right? So getting that material count and then getting the Warforged AR, that is excellent. And you know what? For a team that's in, like, the 50-point range, right, inside the top 15, that might have been the highlight of their weekend. If they can take this game, turn it into a few points, they might just go to finals based off of that fight alone. Kingaling and Crazed, the second time they get to clash against Agers and Veno. This time, Kingaling and Crazed are here to finish the job, and they get one of the two. I don't know if they got Veno, but I'm assuming Veno got up out of there.
Just an insane shot to take him down 180 while he was full box. Just impressive gameplay all around. You can see that the only team in the lobby who qualified for all 4 Divisional Cup finals together. It goes to show that, hey, they may have broken up for just a second when they reformed, but sometimes being reunited has never felt so good. 89 points, still behind the curve against some of the other superstars here in this lobby, but they just have like a slower game than most. They don't go for early game eliminations, especially if the zone kind of pulls far away. They use their height advantage over at Lifty Lob, plus that launch pad to close the distance when they have to.
It's kind of interesting because you think of the personalities of the two. Curve very much reserved, Higgs super outgoing. I almost think they might have found their balance in one another, and I think it's interesting that they're kind of taking the playstyle with the slower approach and saving that big burst of energy for when they need it a lot. We'll see how they continue to perform here. Afonso realize one of the teams, again, that's in the bubble at the moment here. Yeah, we can start painting that consistency picture because, again, it's a very short evening. Only 5 games, and we're in the middle of Game 3. So very soon we're going to be in the final stretch for these players to try to get their consistency points to go to the finals. Dignitas, Kanata, Sphinx on the other side, making a move right now deep into the storm here as they continue to rotate around. What's interesting is they did this last game. They decided to go deeper into the storm around this time to wrap around, and it did not work out for them. I was going to say, they got targeted when they got into the zone. This time they're getting spotted early again as well.
Yeah, and they have the benefit, though. I will say, as long as they have the gold and the med kits, you see how the zone at the north side of the map is kind of full. It is going to open up in that direction. So you got to think the probability of a lot of teams already stacked up there has to be low. And if that is going to be their course of action here, it might work out for them. We might see them later on in this game as well. Just like Bucky and Cam choosing to change things up. Instead of getting aggressive and willing to fight against Veno and Agers, they disengaged out of that POI early. They got their loot and hoping to play the rest of this game out. But now they find themselves with similar struggles below the damage threshold. And this is the first time they're facing these struggles today.
I mean, but it's also the first time we see them at least making it to the mid-game, right? So this is a huge step of improvement. Now, they will have to find their damage. Options looking pretty okay for what it's worth, but any fight that happens down here, there's too many high ground team positions kind of all around them, so the focus is going to be real.
You can kind of see they're taking a little bit of a risk here. They're not necessarily together, but they're just trying to cover a good amount of distance, give them more opportunities to connect with shots. You see Alfonso in the distance trying to come in. I'm sure Cam was able to get any damage, but that's definitely going to be a positive. But we see him return from the grave. Peterbot back up. Poyo getting elimination as well. And that's very, very important because losing that fight, Peterbot going down, how long it actually took, it leaves question marks about their surge, and that's definitely going to help them tenfold.
Not only that, all that material count went straight to Peterbot, and he was not capped on anything. So he absolutely needed that elimination.
Kind of look and pinpoint small moments throughout the game that can kind of change the course, the trajectory of what teams are going through. That one is definitely one for sure for Peterbot. by Agers and Veno. We kind of saw that replay of getting dropped by King and Craze. They're going to be back up in this game here. 143 points, 2 eliminations, and above the damage threshold. The only thing that I have to really worry about is the resources. A couple of empty item slots for Agers, lack of mobility, and you see Veno poking the bear up above, taking some shots again. That's King and Craze, the initial players that separated this duo the first time.
I like that little rematch at play here. I saw in the feed, though, Peterbot Boyo landing on Cam, so that little split opportunity, little split pay they were doing basically played against them. We get to watch the highlight here shortly, so take a look at this. From outside the storm, Cam might have been poking the bear, like you said, the wrong team this time around. Peterbot Boyo recognized that he's in a solo tower. They take him out right away. Those are the key refreshes they need. Those are, you know, again, the big damage swings that's going to put them right back into running here.
Especially if they keep finding these opportunities.
Ozone falls.
Ozone, yup,
That's
eliminated as well. 123. Well above the damage threshold, even though 22 players need to go ahead and go down before Storm Surge no longer active in this game. They're putting themselves and climbing up that Storm Surge ladder where they don't have to look down or even worry about it. But they do get a max pull. That's going to leave them open to taking damage, but they are still pouring it out. Preston and Naves are not even sure what's hitting them right now.
Okay, really tough games for Golden and Ozone, by the way. They were only in the 30-point range coming into this one, and then for them to fall this late into the Game 3 development right after getting a refresh is going to really set them back. So Peterbot and Boyo have now taken out some really important teams, and they are finding, again, refresh after refresh, and they're just taking this momentum right into the end game now. And this is not what you want to see. You know, we went from calling Peterbot possibly frustrated in the last engagement and all this confidence, right, surging right back in.
Even there in the feed, Boyo getting another knock on the Darz. He clicks in rapid, though. They know how chaotic and destructive the low ground can get, and that's why I can see them kind of elevating themselves early. They don't want to spend too much material trying to claim the high ground of themselves unless they have to, seeing where the zone pulls. It is favoring their direction, so this is going to give them a chance to look back. But a whole nother player flying through the sky, landing a big shot onto Clicks, making him second guess from 500 above the damage threshold at 289.
We've seen plays like that take players out. You never really know, so that was a scary one for sure. Meanwhile, if you saw there, Peterbot finds Contrap on the rotate as well. They find Darcy here from Boyo's perspective. They are just turning up right now. This is looking like it could turn into one of those monster games as far as Elam's concerned.
Especially since you can kind of see after those eliminations, they're pretty stacked up on loot. They're stacked up on materials. They can be one of the teams to take it early and try to hold on to it as long as possible. See if that time comes, but for Veno and Agers, only 3 teams, or to say players, need to go down. Storm Surge will deactivate, but for now, 44 above, that's where they're going to feel a little bit confident. Looking at the distance, seeing some fresh builds, they're going to lurk around here, try to go ahead and push forward, but instantly does get blocked off. They're just going to go ahead and wait for the zone to push forward before they make their move on out.
Yeah, I see Curve and Higgs on the other side, amplifies. Tsunami and Loris here. Pretty tough spot to be in right now. Shots coming in from other opponents as well. They're going to have to ditch the base here and get the rotate going. Looking at things from the wide view. King and Craze continuing to fire off shots here. Another refresh for them now. This is going to get them right back into the running. Who's looking a bit desperate, but again, the firepower for King and Craze is so telling here. Looking at Clicks and Rapid right now, positioned up for second height. Peterbot Boyo, 8 eliminations and counting. They're just taking out anyone who's anyone in their way. They just have not stopped.
Yeah, and you kind of seeing Lance Head in both of their inventories. They got the Mythic Pistol. If this team gets high ground or gets a position on the low ground, I'm definitely going to be scared for some of these teams. As Veno and Ager try to go for a sneaky play, but they get found out at the last second, denied that first opportunity, but they turn phase. They turn around, try to get another one, but both of those get stolen away. Peterbot and Boyo find 2 more, and it's the reason why they're going to get dropped down. Peterbot will fall, and Boyo's now left by himself for only a couple of seconds before Craze finishes the job.
That was kind of wild because they actually closed the point gap as well. They were flying their way so high up, but now you have Veno Agers really starting to gap the competition as far as overall points are concerned. Meanwhile, you still have Higgs on high ground right now. I didn't really see his teammates, so we're going to have to assess the situation up top, but Agers and Veno are playing some strong Fortnite right now. And even though they don't have a lot of material count, they are putting up the numbers right here in the low ground. Higgs and Curve are both alive. Barely any mats though.
I think Veno and Agers are kind of playing more towards the format. They know with a Victory Royale punching a ticket to the Grand Finals, they're maybe trying to stay away from the chaos of team after team trying to send it towards the high ground. But Veno's going to get dropped. Agers going to get left by himself. I'm not too worried. We know what Agers is capable of. But Craze is going to go down again and again. We're seeing multiple games here where some of our top teams being left alive as solos. Luckily for Clix, he finds that elimination. Third one of the game from a solo clutch in game 1 to dominating here in game 3.
This is really nice. The first time we're seeing them both enter into the top 10 together as well. Look at the synergy here. Double chugging back to the zone. Meanwhile, Kingaling has not stopped finding eliminations. He's our elim leader, and for good reason. Here comes Clix. Rapid versus Higgs and Curve for the high ground. Rapid's going to find the 2. Finish things up. Clix gets his as well. And just like that, Clix and Rapid are on the high ground. King finally falls to the hands of Loris.
Yeah, 2 potential teams going at it. It's Clix and Rapid are going to be the last one stalling at the high ground. Agers is trying to heal up whatever he can, taking it step by step, knowing he's running out of build, so eventually it's going to get hard for him. Better than it actually is. QTE taking the elimination onto Skittles. A lot of our solos being tossed and turned outside of the lobby. Pop 5 here, Monster. Most of the placement points have already been granted, but now we're into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, this game's over. You got Clix on a low ground, final elimination. Still has a couple shockwaves as well. Off he goes. Rapid playing the edit course here just because he has so much material to do so. It's basically a 2v2 right here. There's still another opponent there. He's going to jump in. Clix makes the edit, and just like that, they win the game with 11 eliminations there.
And new team, Clix said it himself, it's a whole nother level of confidence being able to play with someone like Rapid, who is having a phenomenal start to the year. We're going to see him at EWC, and now we're going to see him in the FNCS Grand Finals.
Yeah. Yo, Click's moving a little different right now, Clicks. Okay. Dude, this is the confident Clicks. This is the confident Clicks that I miss seeing. This is the Clicks that would go out, do crazy things. I'm sure he's probably yelling, bang, going crazy right now, walking around, staring out the window, looking onto, you know, the city that shall not be named, but he is still Clicks. And paired up with Rapid, Kelly, this is what we kind of talked about at the start of the show, right? There's kind of a confidence back on Clicks. And look, we come out and we go ahead and win. Okay.
Yeah. 100% Clix and Rapid, they've been having that snowball. They started off a little slow as soon as they formed, but it's been building up time and time that we've seen them. Whether that's been the Div Cups or during these scrims that we've been having over the last few weeks, they've been really building up this momentum. And this is the game that they finally get to solidify and show everyone that Clix and Rapid are here to stay. They're here to go to the global championships because, my gosh, what an incredible run to see them do this low ground run and then steal height at the perfect moment. We know how much Clix like to steal height a little early many seasons ago, right, Vivid? So to see him wait patiently for this perfect moment to take it is exactly what I want to see out of them.
It's gonna be a little bit of a throwback, but this kind of reminds me of the duo of Clix and Miro from a long time ago, when they would kind of find these eliminations, and after they would kind of pick them up, then they would go for the high ground. And this is kind of exactly kind of the step-by-step process that we just saw from Clix and Rapid right here. But also, they kind of pulled a little bit of a play out of what feels like last season's playbook, where, yeah, we would see these overdrive grenades kind of be used from the backside of the storm, but what kind of facilitated those plays was actually the Flowberry mist effect, kind of helping out with those overdrive grenades. But obviously that's not in this season anymore, so that's kind of faded away. But they opt to go ahead and pull it out anyway, kind of completely catch Curve and Higgs off guard, and it worked out perfectly. They're going to be taking home game number 3.
Now, next step, the finals. Again, this is a Clix with confidence, and we hope it stays that way, right? Of course, we'll be talking about them in next weekend's finals, but for now, a quick break. We're at the halfway point. 2 games left to go. After a short break, we'll take a look at the standings. See you in just a bit. Welcome back to the FNCS Fortnite fam. Great to see all of you. We are now at the halfway point of the competition. 2 games left to go. Game 3 goes the way of Clicks and Rapid, so they're good. The next time we'll be seeing them is in next weekend's finals. Now that we, of course, are at the halfway point, why don't we take a moment here to check out some stats. Let's check out the players in focus, powered by Milk. Let's take a look at some of these stat breakdowns of just the first 3 games. Of course, Kelly, Peterbot would have 2 of them.
Yeah, of course it's going to be damage dealt. And then solo clutch points. Peterbot, you know, it's not just that he has to prove to the rest of the lobby that his team's better. He also has to prove against Pollo that he is the better solo clutcher. But a Kingling up on top with 17 eliminations. You do love to see that.
Yep, without a doubt. I mean, it's incredible to see kind of Kingling towards the top of it as well. But listen, I mean, Peterbot on the back foot of him doing so good on those solo clutch points, doing so much damage dealt as well. I mean, these guys are still hanging around towards the top of the leaderboard. This game was probably their worst one yet. I mean, 17th place, but it's always the eliminations for these guys. Somehow, some way, they go down in 17th place, and I wasn't actually even aware of this when we were watching the game live. They had 10 eliminations this game, and they went down in 17th place. So the W key was being held down for sure. Kind of the strategy is starting to come into fruition here for the duo. I mentioned it going into game number 3. I was like, listen, the game plan is going to be clear for these guys. They want to play all 5 games, but in every single one, they're going to play for the elims. And apparently they did just that in game number 3.
And I feel like we see this every single heat out of Peterbot and Pollo. They're not here to go for the win. No, they're here to let everyone know, hey, we're here. We can control the lobby. That doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to be going for height every game. No, if they want to go for lid, if low, if they want to go for mid, whatever they want, whatever practice that they want to get out of this, I think we will be seeing out of Peterbot and Pollo. And out of the points that they have already garnered themselves out of these games, I don't think that they really need to worry about showing up for the final 2. I think that they can kind of just keep doing what they're doing. I'm not saying that if Peterbot and Pollo decided this game, hey, we're gonna go win now, then they're gonna win. But I'm also not saying that.
not saying that. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, I'm sure players in the lobby thought like, oh, dude, Peterbot and Pollo, we got him. And then, yeah, like Vivid said, you kind of go in, you're like, where were they at? Oh, 17th place, 10 eliminations, huh? They still pulled off the unthinkable, even in 17th place in that last game. Let's take a look at the standings, though. Where are we at, rather, currently? Again, if you're just tuning in, don't worry about those 3 1,000 placements. That just means they got a victory out. They're good. So right now, Agers and Benno currently in that number 1 spot. You know, Kelly, their stats are looking so good, so incredibly consistent as well. An 8th place, 2nd place, 6th place, 5, 10, 5 eliminations. I'm really looking forward to see them and how they translate this to the finals lobby.
Now listen, the story, and I'm all about the story, that we have been building up all season is that it has been the Venno versus Peterbot. Now obviously Venno left the drop spot, and that has to give the point to Peterbot in the overall story. However, Venno is currently above Peterbot in points on the leaderboard. I would have to say, doesn't that overall put Venno and Agers as you know, the competitive powers that we're looking at right now? That's not just above them. They are 30 points ahead of Peterbot and Pollo right now, Vivid. I would have to give the edge to them.
Yeah, without a doubt, I mean, Agers and Venno are looking very, very good. I kind of mentioned it after the last game. The one thing that I was liking so far that I've seen out of Agers and Venno was that their ability to play multiple different play styles. Now, after game number 3, I mean, Agers did pick up a couple of solo clutch points there. But another thing that I've liked so far about the duo is that they're very committal in the sense that they're usually alive as a duo or they're down as a duo. It's either one. So they're kind of like all in as a duo. They don't necessarily rely on some of those solo clutch points that we've seen from some of our other teams here today. And I really favor that, especially when it gets down to the grand finals.
Interesting. I mean, they also have to translate that to finals, right? Because they're going to be put in situations where one of them is going to be a solo probably. So curious to kind of see how that pans out. Wanted to tip my hat here to Higgs and Curve, 132 points. They've only kind of had their first game was like the roughest game, right? A 16th place with 2 eliminations. It's a little rough, not that crazy, but if we're kind of looking at qualifying, they're at the 132 mark. Kelly, with 2 more games, I got to think they'll break over, like, you know, yesterday was like 160-ish points, right? So we just got to make sure we're above that line, and then we can kind of take this through the finals.
I mean, the fact that we've already seen them being able to take height Zone 8, Zone 9, and then controlled all the way till 10 until Curve went down right there. It was a very fast transition. As far as teams controlling height, one of the biggest components to a successful high ground team, I think, is actually when to be able to let go and survive a potential height steal. So obviously, Higgs and Curve for that situation didn't go the way that they wanted, but they are still able to control high ground for even just a few moments, is definitely going to give them advantage over the rest of the lobby. And currently sitting in 8th place, we are already reached the halfway point of the game. This is a good place to be.
I think it's important for us to go ahead and quickly note here the eliminations column, because we did see that Kingling and Crazy had 24. Peter and Playo also have 24, so a little bit of a tie here. As we do kind of take a look at that bubble very, very quickly. Usually when we finish up the day, it's top 15 to go ahead and secure that in consistency as well. That's currently sitting around 70 points, was a little bit lower than I would have been initially anticipated, but you can see it in 18th place right there. We just saw a team go up 30 placements. Absolutely crazy. Kind of shout out to Amplify there. Hopefully they can keep this ball rolling and potentially qualify through consistency with just one more game.
You gotta hope, right? You gotta hope. Listen, this is Heat 3. This is gonna be one of the last chances to try and make it through the next weekend's finals. You don't want to go to the LCQ, right? You want to try and qualify right here, right now. 2 games left to try and make something happen. For now, casters, take it away.
They hit the nail on the head with only 2 games left. This is where you start to think, does it turn into desperation mode? If you're one of those teams at the lower side of the leaderboard, unite, start to think about that victory royale here instead of saving it for the last game.
Yeah, you kind of have to. We've seen it time and time again already. I want to say the big names are performing right about how we expected. For everyone else now, they're going to have to pull the rabbit out the hat, right? We're going to have to see the magic tricks come out here because they are running out of time.
Yeah, and hopefully some of those teams, you're on the bubble, you're on the line. Mistakes do happen. It's just about how you handle the pressure. Game 4 is here, so let's just jump right into it.
All right, let's kick things off, Jacob. We've seen a lot of action throughout the weekend here so far. The big boys clawing their way through. Clicks and Rapid, man, talk about a performance of the weekend for them. Really clean, excellent job by them. But other teams that are already sort of punched their ticket through. Agers, Veno, Peterbot, Boyo, Kingling, Craze. They have so many points already massed up. You have to assume they're at the upper echelon of teams that don't have to worry now. They can start to do things like manipulate the rest of the lobby and really look to influence what the finals lobby is going to look like.
Yeah, it's something that we see every single one of these heat stages, but we saw a moment ago, Latte landing, one less team actually landing there. So with 3 POIs up for grabs, with 3 of those teams already in the grand finals, things are going to continue to change up. But one fight that will remain the same is Deja and Zeely winning the off-spawn fight, only with 21 points so far. So they have 2 thoughts in mind here. You play the game out as usual, get as many points so you have 2 win conditions in game 5, or you just fire away 2 different games, go for the victory royale, so that way you have less to worry about.
Yeah, I'm thinking what a fun stack could be like. It's like, what was the lowest point team, kind of leaning into 4th game or 5th game to qual through on NA over the weekend, right? I believe at one point we saw a team with around 60 or so points pop up out of nowhere and take a game 4 win. So it really is possible for anyone. All you got to do is win those contested drops, though.
Wait a minute. You see this, right?
See the difference.
We're looking at the same thing, Veno and Age. And here's the thing. When everything happened with Shadow and Virgo not qualifying out of the heats, before Veno had marked a drop, it was this man right here. Kanata saw Shadow and Virgo. He said, I'm going there. Veno said he's going there. Kanata and Sphinx went back to their regular drop. So this could be a play out of Veno and Agers to take one less team out of their path, out of this lobby, and try to give them an easier road in the actual grand finals.
It's funny how that works out. We were just talking about Veno having the potential to do just that. At one point, he could have looked to Peterbot's team, right, and tried to, force them out of the game. But that ship has sailed, Like, they already managed to get 160-plus points. So now Kanata's going to be really forced into an interesting spot. Take a look at the highlight here for Naves. Finds Sinetto on the outskirts. Sinetto was doing relatively okay as well, so really unfortunate for them to get their momentum slowed down, but just like that, they're forced to the last game. Any last thoughts, though, Jacob, about what Veno and Agers are doing here?
I just think it's, we kind of thought one way, but maybe, you know, Veno and Aegis just had something planned all along. I know Vivid was giving, you know, Veno's outlook of why he even contested Peterbot and Poyo simply for that off-spawn practice, and it worked out so far, kind of crushing Bucky and Cam over towards the Heatwave Harbor, which is now going to work out for them, because you imagine maybe they're uncontested. So I think Veno and Aegis might be playing the long game here with their spot probably already secured. They're looking forward to see how they can affect the actual Grand Finals lobby.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is going to be a very telling opportunity now for Kanata. He can back up Dimsy for a second there, walks all the way up to the opponent and shoots him before he even realizes what's going on. A lurk got lurked on. It's a tough spot to be in here.
That's Kiffy. See him bounce around, trying to get the minis. They canceled it out. He's only going to be able to get one off. Dimsy and Allen just have full control right now on the back foot, knowing that they have a huge lead here. So they basically have options. Is the damage they got okay? They can disengage, kind of start to build up that momentum, and that does look like to be what they're going to do. They're going to let Kiffy, Yami disengage. Battlewood is just one of those POIs where there's so many buildings, so many twists, so many turns. You can easily start to get aggressed on if you just get caught off guard.
Let's take a look at Curve and Higgs here. Not quite the same boat as the Peterbots, the Boyos, the Venos, the Kings, but they're doing just fine for themselves. They're about an end game away from being very much solidified through. But their job's way more chill, right? Taking kind of this northern area all to themselves. Really no one here. I'm curious what their strategy has been actually to get their surge. Very interesting that it's worked out for them this way. But Peterbot, Boyo continue to fight the teams on the outside. This time, Peterbot once again getting bested here, but it's all good. Boyo comes to the rescue just in time.
Yeah, just kind of looking at the one elimination out of both of them, they probably kind of disrupted the fight. Maybe one of those eliminations got stolen away. There is a team on the outskirts towards the northeast, not too far away, so you can imagine how that is affecting things. But now Veno and Aegis going from the top of the mountain, going after what looks like Dragon and Creon. Outside of the POI and any loot that could be there themselves, you got to imagine they're going after that mythic pistol weapon. You know, they're a team that does like to go for high ground at times. This could be the game where they set themselves up for a victory royale, and this could be the tools that they're looking for.
Very nicely done here. Again, they're still in the hunt right now. You saw Kanata's nameplate in the distance there. But Veno's just finding himself kind of getting back to his, I feel like his fragging ways, you know? There was a point in time where everyone counted out and forgot about what he was capable of. Big Veno showing up here on NA. And looks like Aegis, who's really managed to find his way into the playstyle very nicely. Veno leading the charge here, though. They got the knock. Nice job with the follow-up there, and then the finish. Just like that, they get themselves 2 more eliminations. They secure the Mythic Pistol, and this is a massive upgrade to their loadout.
Yeah. May not have gone how they thought it would go in terms of the amount of damage they took themselves, but that plan overall is 100% successful. They got what they were looking for. Kyrie getting lurked on. He spots it at the last second. A couple of quick shots there to try to slow things down, but he himself takes about 85 or so damage. Shield is there and gives it an opportunity to look up. He sees another team lurking in the distance, and now they're toying with the amount of options they have. You can fight the team down below, or you can try to wait and see where this one goes. Let them make a mistake.
Yeah, Unreal Iana playing the ultimate low ground. Echo trying to play for a little bit of positioning at the top, posturing up here. Loses the wall, gets a ramp placed behind him, unfortunately forced to a bit of a weird position there. Just like that, all the resets come through. Here comes a teammate going box to box.
It's going to slow down here just a little bit. You can see not a lot of shields left over. Run really an Echo. Not sure the chances of them being able to run into a mending machine just yet. Usually kind of pick that one up throughout the course of their journey. Just going to have a few speed bumps in the road, but I feel like it's nothing that they can't handle at this stage in the game. So jump on board and continue to look around some of the teams around the map. 83 points right now for Scoodle and Kyan, which is kind of like on the line. And there is a little bit of a gap between where they're at on the leaderboard, 83 points coming into this game, to the next team down, which is Cyclops and Light on 69 points. So if they can keep that gap intact, that'll definitely be looking good. But Echo has just lost his teammate. They get caught slipping here.
Yeah, definitely a tough position. Both of these teams are both in the same point range as well, so very much met with an even threat, but Echo is going to be the first to take the casualty. Jit playing the side angle. Love to see it. Little split from the middles there. You can see how much it's cost them, but now that they're down the middle, you really do want to finish this up ASAP. Not burn through your precious material. I think they're kind of feeling the same here. They've actually lost track of where this last play was.
And this is one of those things, like, you can continue to try to break some of these builds, look on the inside, but it comes at a risk of its own. You know, you can catch you off guard, hit a nice pump shotgun, switch to the pistol, finish off with a knock. So I don't think they're going to go ahead and take that risk. Take that small victories to continue to run with it. 2 games left, chances certainly running out. See, Venom Agers again, it almost feels like they're just going to every POI. They're the masters, they're the trolls, and you got to pay the toll to cross their bridge.
Gets to jump back in with Venom Agers. I actually want the update from Kanata. Where did he go? Did he get his reboot is a real question. Because we already knew that his game plan was pretty straightforward, you know? But as he's jumping back onto Kiffy here. The wall take there, doesn't quite get it. Kiffy was fast enough to respond.
Agers poking in on the other side. Trying to get something to sneak through. Not necessarily bulldozing in just yet. They're inside the battle woods. The potential for so many teams to be in the distance, whether in the buildings or surge bases of their own, are going to be relatively high. As Agers continues to watch one angle, Venno closes out options on the other, getting control of that mending machine. They're already stacked up outside of materials, so I'm not sure what more they can be after.
It's a great stat to highlight what Agers is capable of. The amount of damage he puts out. Again, very quiet player when it comes to his social presence, but the professional player scene knows. If you know ball, you know exactly who Agers is and what he's capable of. So many accolades under his belt. Either way though, Yami and Kiffy continue to entertain the fight here for the mending machine. Agers and Venno, I think, have done enough. Meanwhile, going to the high ground. I was curious as to how Higgs and Curve were managing to kind of sustain their damage output. They seem to just wait for opportunities to come their way, playing the general launch pad.
Especially since they are on the north side of the map. I think in that incredible rotation, we did see Reed attempt to go ahead and rotate from Wonky Land all the way to over here. So you're seeing they're just kind of watching the outskirts. The teams that either in desperation mode to dodge fights or just simply just go around the map. As Peterbot Pollo going for a lurk. They're going to go ahead and shockwave up, force that player down into the palm of Pollo's hands, continuing to go on this chase. It's a situation we've seen far too often. Over-aggression lead to the downfall of one of them two, forced to pick each other back on up. But luckily for them and that team down below, they're going to be able to skirt their way out to safety.
It's actually scary how fast they have the ability to take the walls, make the edits, and just be flawless. Their ability to navigate through the builds like that. Take a look at how things worked out for Kiffy, though. You saw Venno, Agers kind of messing with the beehive here. Kiffy finds a nice little shot onto Agers, then wraps him up. Gets the full finish as well. This is a minor setback now for Venno. A little taste of his own medicine here as he is now left by himself. I wanted the update from Kanata. We're getting it here. He's in the storm and gets his pickup. Playing the long game there. Now they have Sphinx back in the game, but are they too far behind to turn this round into any points?
Yeah, they're already in the 4th zone, still in 1-tick territory. We're going to go to the 5th and then the 6th, so definitely on a clock to try to figure out what type of loadout they can leave with. This Venno lurking around by himself. You see he finds that elimination onto Pure. If he eventually does get the reboot like we're looking like here, they might have a body of loot that Agers can quickly try to grab back on up. And you ask so many times, Curve, Higgs, how are they getting their surge? It's just these high mountain ranges, these tops, and all these teams lurking around for scraps.
Definitely, you see a duo right there kind of lurking nearby, trying to find the shots onto Agers. As he comes in, everyone focuses on him, but gets away untouched. Tragic and Bolo still controlling the machine here. Plenty of heals for them to work with as well.
Not a bad situation. And that's the thing about, you know, Venno Agers. You could put Pete and Pollo in that category. You can quite frankly put a few of our top teams in that category. Just because they go down, they get rebooted, and you know they have some troubles in that game, doesn't mean it changes their game plan any bit, especially since they know they have one more game. If they don't qualify here in terms of consistency, they could easily do it in the next game, if not pop off and get an actual win. So that's why you're seeing a different type of looseness than you would see in an actual Grand Finals lobby with 12 games, everything on the line. Storm Surge reappears again, 300 above for Cynics and Cirque. That's going to be okay for this zone, but they need to continue to accumulate that damage so it becomes less and less of a worry as the game continues.
That's right, saw King and Craze, find some elims there as well. We get to jump in with how things are happening on the other side of the map. They were at 2 elims here. They find a fresh team rotating deep in the storm. Couple taps, and just like that, a few headshots put them away. And that's going to put them up to 4. You know, they might be finding these nice, clean, quick elims here, but come Grand Finals, I want to see what they can do against the increased competition. 400 below, though, for Boyo here. Pretty tough spot for them to be in.
Yeah. And this is the type of gameplay, kind of exactly what I was talking about. We get to see how Peterbot got eliminated. They're below 300, underneath the damage threshold. Even with all the resources in the world, that's the one thing you really have to fight for. And that puts Poyo on the back foot. And again, all of these early game fights, especially the ones that are stalled out, they're not as clean as you would think. So Peterbot and Poyo have taken a ton of damage in this game. And now Poyo is kind of left alone to deal with it himself.
I was going to say 400 below. You know, at this point, we get to see if he's got the masterclass on how to actually put up that absurd amount of damage. How good do you have to be a solo and find 400 points worth of damage? It's pretty tough. Kingling and Craze on the other side don't have that issue at all. For Kanata, he's already lost Sphinx once again here. He's barely holding on. Boyo does fall, trying to fight his way through 2 teams. Fortunate for him, but Kanata's got a little bit lucky with that team fall in there, those players there being his immediate competition as far as that damage surge requirement needed.
So that was very, very risky for Kanata to use the porta potty to get on out. Has no idea who might be up above as we tune in, though. Not only have Peterbot and Poyo has fallen, Agers is down. Veno finds himself below the damage threshold, even though he does have med kits, chug jugs, and a whole arsenal to try to get that damage back. Eventually, Storm Surge will turn on and put him officially on the clock. Just like Kanata on the other side, 351. Almost essentially 2 full eliminations worth of damage is going to be needed by Kanata.
Yeah, Veno's super confused. His team shot right above him. It was just a solo, but either way, he was probably wondering, how do they know he was there? He's got a moment to work with. Kanata getting pressure by the lobby. Can't afford to get tapped. But he's moving something special here. Into a base he goes. And Kanata crushes one player but couldn't get the follow-up. There was a fresh duo underneath. But Plan Veno succeeds here because they don't earn any placement points. Veno does it by himself here. He finds 2. And he's just showing you how it's done.
Giving me deja vu of Major 1. He came to this region and literally in his first FNCS drops the most eliminations out of every individual in the lobby, taking first place along with Curve. And now he's showing why he is one of the best players in all the land, not just one region. Doing it again here. It's just the heat stages, just qualifying, but sometimes you got to put your foot down one way or another, and Veno is doing just that. But without Peterbot and Poyo, without Agers in the lobby, this could be a moment for a team like Craze and King to finally pop off and win the game.
Most definitely. But look at this. Veno finds another shield crack onto Zeely. Runs up on another team as well. And he's just trying to catch another 2v1 for himself. Because why not at this point? That's a refresh for the Shockwaves. He's back up to 6 and a fresh chug. This is so much arsenal for him to work with. He surely can make the end game look nice and easy now.
Yeah, immediately you see him stay off that low layer as a solo. That's one of the easiest ways to kind of get trapped and caught out, as he immediately returns back to form here. He said 7 eliminations. I believe King and Craze just trying to go toe-to-toe for that one. Coming into this game, Veno and Agers were in first place. King and Craze were in second place on 178 points. We could see a new first-place team after this game for sure, but Devade right now, M-Pessy needing a decent opportunity here. They're going to be on the high ground, and I think the only thing that they got that's not working in their favor as a max pool.
Yeah, definitely here. Just a singular shockwave as well, so they're gonna have to be really smart with the way they utilize this going forward. Storm Surge is once again active, putting pressure on the two teams in the lobby, but King and Craze have nothing to worry about. They're just marching their way through anyone that wants to play the front side of the rotate, because they have the time, the luxury to go ahead and take these fights on their terms. They do very well when you allow them to initiate.
Yeah, they're just immediately staying on it. These situations are dangerous. It's so easy to get third-partied in the back, but they are so confident. Their 7th elimination, 1,100 above the damage threshold. It goes to show a lot of these fights are ending so quickly, they're not taking too much damage as Venno continues to go off. From 7 eliminations last time we saw him to 9 eliminations as a solo, almost looking at double digits as he just wipes the shielded HP off of Ozone.
Absolute menace. Not only him, but Crazy King of Ling as well. Another 2 eliminations for them here, bringing them up to 8. They find Event and Pessy here on the box next door. They thought about jumping in there, but instead go to cut them off with the low ground rotate. Meanwhile, Venno's the one firing back shots here. They just can't get enough of each other in this game here. Comes the shockwaves through. That's the last of it for King and Craze as they opt to play the ultimate low.
And this could be their chance right now to take first place. Venno was just eliminated out of this game by Boji. But I say that, and King just immediately gets targeted off into the distance. Golden, Ozone, Higgs, Curve, all looking their direction, trying to slow down such an incredible run they have been on. But Higgs and Curve, 150 points. If you take any of the 2 heats so far, they are not yet qualified for the grand finals with those points.
Yeah, kind of crazy, right? Considering how much endgame they've made. So not a lot of eliminations by any means, but definitely some big endgame placement points being earned. Meanwhile, Craze has lost King, but he's not being stopped from fighting teams. Playing so aggressively, pushes one back, forces the other off. He can't afford to touch the zone. And in the end, he does go down. High ground still held by Fleur and Regular, who have about 45 points right now. So this is the game win that they need to solidify their finals run.
Yeah, especially since a lot of the tough competition on top of the leaderboard, either in shambles or eliminated. And this could be their chance, especially with only 2 games left. But more and more teams are starting to look up. Regular is going to be the new team on the high ground. Max and Smiley are trying to chop him down. That's forcing him in the zone. 10 tick per second. He overstays his welcome. And now he's going to have to dig deep in his heal off. His second win condition is going to be forced out here in order for him to just stay alive.
You saw he almost choked for an opportunity there. He almost canceled the med kit. And Smiley now recognized that this team kind of loosened up their guard for a moment there. They fight for high ground. Smiley now takes full control here. They end up knocking one of the 2. Plur's left by himself. He's probably not going to be able to get the pickup here. Just like that, a new team's on height. This team can still qual through consistency, but why do that when you can fight for the win here?
Yeah, just take it. Run away with it. Higgs and Curve still up though, 174. Pessy's going to be down below, trying to go ahead and survive. He's at least able to get the knock onto 1 before eventually going down to a whole nother player. Curve wasn't even the one to get the elimination, and you see him needing it bad. He did not get the siphon, only 10 left on the Chug Jug, and a lot of his builds going right out the window. Spear Cash, they're trying to do just that. They were the ones taking Peterbot and Pollo's time, throwing it out the window. They survive their 4th elimination, make it 5 as he goes back to back. He just cleans house before going down.
Nicely done, though. A top 5 for him there, really fighting for it. Meanwhile, Smiley out of material count here. Shockwaves is up to natural high ground. They need to take the time here to refarm just a little bit. We all know materials definitely wins games. Curve, though, on the low ground, just trying to buy himself some time. Finds a leftover Chug. Okay, he's only got 10, but better than nothing at this point. 2 builds left. Meanwhile, Olzo, Golden, out of nowhere, had managed to survive the onslaught of the lobby. They were so far behind. Now they're finding themselves kind of in the race here. Curve might be the reason they could win, though, because the high ground team, we already know, doesn't have a lot of builds.
Yeah, I'm wondering if anybody even took advantage of the mending machine. As Curve
crazy.
Gets a big elimination onto Allen. He missed out on that first opportunity at the siphon, but he will not miss out twice. As you said, he does not get the Chug Jug, only gets the builds, and those are instantly being burned through. Quickly hits the 180 shot before finally going down. That's Max and Smiley again. They were the ones that fought for the high ground, and they're hoping this could be the recipe for their success.
Definitely. Smiley's already down, though. He might be given the 1v1. Ozone, Golden, looking for it. They break the builds here. Ozone's playing a Storm. He's a little bit off guard. Nicely done for him. They get the 2, and now it's a 2v1. Dimsy's in the Storm healing. Ozone and Golden have so many seconds to play with, but he's got the mending machine.
What's the gold like? That's the biggest question.
Oh
Ozone Golden, they have more than enough. He has the Chug Jug in the back pocket. The patch up is going to come in. If he could buy the med kits, yes, that will be a lot cheaper. Back-to-back patch ups, that could be the difference. Wasting gold on those situations could be the reason why he might not win. But Golden on the other side, multiple med kits in his inventory, and it's going to be enough. Golden and Ozone, a familiar face. Welcome to the grand finals.
Hey, listen, and they deserve to be there. One of the few teams to fight their ways to globals as well. You saw what they were capable from LAN to now. They are slowly and surely showing us they are improving as a duo here. Well, the Victor Royale now, Zeke, is going to go to Golden and Ozone.
Fortnite fam, I can't even believe this has happened. I want to give you some insight really quickly. Obviously, you know, we're telling a story here. We're following along with you, following on the leaderboard. We're building kind of what we're seeing. And during the break, we were like, man, you know, the one team we talked about, we haven't seen a lot of, it's Golden Ozone. Okay, well, where are they at? 29th place. Ah, man, they really need to have these like really killer last 2 games. Like, we really hope that they make it through. And of course, Kelly, it always happens like this. Huh? It's like the moment we're kind of talking about someone off screen, it's like, man, we really hope they do well. They just come out and get a victory royale. 29th place doesn't matter when you can just get a win and secure a spot in finals.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer as far as games 1, 2, and 3 are concerned. We really weren't able to get too much of a highlight, too much of an understanding of what exactly was going on. Where was the fault in their plan? But obviously, we've seen the success from them out of the Div Cups, getting 2nd and 4th place. We've seen the success from them from the Summit LAN. So we knew that maybe it was just a matter of time. Maybe they needed to get their footing. As we always say during heats, this isn't the normal set lobbies that these top teams are used to. So maybe working out just kind of the little issues with their start, but figuring that out, you can see just how low their points were right here. Sticking to the low ground, they weren't going for anything flashy. They weren't going for a high elimination game. They were just playing some standard Fortnite.
Heal-offs have been far and few between this season. Super difficult for anybody to kind of play for it because you do use so many of your mats on some of these rotates with just having those overdrive grenades available and not something to kind of send you further. But Golden and Ozone were still kind of prepared for it. They were still ready to play against it. We saw they had 4 med kits available. They didn't need all 4 because eventually Storm 6 has played a part, but Golden and Ozone being prepared for heal-off, even though we have not seen many throughout this season. Congrats to those guys. They played around the win, played it perfectly.
You know what's crazy as well? If we just I'm not gonna say what the points are. We're gonna see that after this break. But if we look at the points, that 104-point game, like total that they got, would have actually put them inside the bubble. That's why we say a single game can change the entire leaderboard for every single duel playing. That's why you can't give up and you just have to keep on fighting until the end. Okay, like I said, a break. Well, one more game to go. When we come back, take a look at the leaderboard. We'll set up all the crazy things that could happen, and then we'll get ourselves ready to find out who's gonna get that last VR and make it into the top 10. Stress is through the roof. We'll see you after this break. Oh no, I'm stressed. Welcome back to the FNCS Stress. Oh, I mean, sorry, Fortnite. I'm stressed. That's me right now. One game left to go before we wrap up Heat number 3 and start to get a more complete picture of who will be making it on to finals next weekend. Game number 4 goes over to Golden and Ozone. They were in 29th place. They needed to have some insane games, and they just decide, Zeke, it's fine. We had a victory out in our back pocket the whole time. Congrats to them. Now, we got to start taking a look at this leaderboard, Kelly. We got 3.5 minutes to kind of set up what is all going into this final game. Obviously, we want to give a big nod to Venno in that last game. Kind of put in a situation where he has to solo clutch. And Kelly, he goes on the solo clutch of his life.
I mean, to just see how many points they have right now. I'm looking to the other heats to just see what was the most amount of points we had. Maybe 240 points, 238 points out of 20 in Champ. And to see Venno being able to carry his team, being able to get this many points without even being able to get a victory royale, that means that he's able to make it to the end game and get a bunch of eliminations every single time. Venno and AJ bring out that double fragger that everyone's been talking about the start of this year, the new dynamic of duos that we expect to be at the top, and to just see how dominant Venno's been, I can expect that we're going to see this dominance continue in the grand finals.
Yeah, I love being proved wrong. Remember how last game I was like, yeah, Venno and Aegis, they seem to be all in as a duo, you know what I mean? If one goes down, they both go down, and Venno's like, nah. I can still solo clutch. Aegis can still solo clutch as well. An incredible run out of Venno right here. I mean, 9 eliminations as just by himself is absolutely incredible. They've been the most consistent team without a doubt throughout the day.
And that's why he is a 5-time champion. We got to turn the page too, though. Let's start talking about the bubble. So remember last time I said Golden Ozone, even if they didn't win that game, they actually have 104 points. The bubble right now is Kanada and Sphinx. Kelly Link, listen to me right now, Kelly Link.
No.
Kanada has never missed a finals of FNCS, okay? He is on the bubble right now. This is a dangerous game, a fine line we are walking right now, Kelly Link. If he doesn't make finals, I won't be here. I'm not showing up to work. I can't do it.
Now the extra pressure Kanada and Sphinx to not only qualify to the grand finals, but to also make sure that Zeke shows up is placed upon your shoulders. Go everyone at Zeke in his prime to blame him if they don't qualify through. But anyway, it's Kanada, it's Sphinx. You think that if anyone's going to be able to clutch up, it's got to be this duo right here. Kanada has proven himself to be so smart, so innovative when it comes to the meta not fitting to what he wants. And yes, maybe they're in 15th place right now, but Vivid, they got one more game. They got a chance. It's got to be this, right? Kanada and Sphinx have to go through.
If they've got anything going for them right now, is that, of course, they have the experience on their side. But that point threshold is very, very low. I mean, 15th place right now is 100 points. I think over the course of like Heat 1 and Heat 2, we were around about 150. So, I mean, you got to imagine it might end up being like 130, maybe even lower than that. So they might not need that big of a game, but they are going to need a big game to absolutely and without a doubt secure it. I mean, 30 FNCS finals in a row for Kanada, including all of those LAN appearances. Surely it doesn't end now. I mean, obviously, you would still have Tuesday as a last chance, but
yeah,
it's got to make it through Heats.
Yeah, look, this is Kanada, right? We just have to believe right here, right now, he can make something happen. We just had a pretty disastrous game last game where we have to reboot and all this stuff kind of unfolds and went wrong. We have to hope that they've managed to keep their mentals intact and they could just come in, do what needs to be done to secure a spot to next weekend finals. But that's the case for every other duo here, either in the bubble or sitting outside the bubble. And don't forget, a Victory Royale auto qualifies you to next weekend finals. If someone in that top 10 gets a VR, we're going to have a crazy final leaderboard. So for now, gear up, Fortnite fan. The last game of Heat starts right now. Casters, take it away.
Yeah, the pressure's on Kanada here. We saw the pressure on Golden and Ozone as well, who were very far off qualifying, and then they pulled the win, Jacob. So anything is possible when you're one of the best.
No, it definitely kind of leaves those nerves at attention here that, you know, you can either have a victory royale, hopefully one of those teams above you kind of loosen it up. As it's looking right now, it seems like we might have the lowest point total for a Heat so far of 2026. I don't know, things could change, but that's just what it's looking right now. So Kanada and Sphinx, they have a little bit of a blessing going their way.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I didn't think that it was going to be lower today. We did mention there's always that chance of randomness, but here we have it. Game number 5 is ready.
When you look back at our game winners, Booga, Braids, Reet and Cooper, Clicks and Rapid, and then of course Golden and Ozone. Monster, those are 4 teams you could definitely see inside of the top 10. So I think this heat was kind of destined for this type of finish, to where we were talking about in the beginning of the day, 3 points is the difference from last heat's average to this heat's average. We've seen 1 point play the difference between winning a championship, let alone qualifying for the grand finals, and it all comes down to this.
Yeah, in the end, the law of averages will work itself out. So we're going to see how it ends up playing out here. You know, coming into this game again, we didn't expect Veno to even, you know, make the pivot of a play last game. They decided to do so. They only found one of the 2 players. This time, Kanata and Sphinx surely are going to be much more sharper. They're going to be on the lookout. They're going to expect the unexpected. And they only need a few points. So I'm curious if they had a backup plan or backup strategy, or if they're just going to tighten up their drop. Right now, Veno is going to lose to Dragon, though, in the lead there. So you can see that already they're trying to, you know, again, land nearby and be the difference maker.
Yeah, we saw them go for this Mythic Pistol in that last game. Obviously, it was a little bit later on where they kind of had full loadouts and the jump on their opponents. This time, they're just taking the drop straight out of the gates, where you almost got to give a team like Dragon and Korean a little bit of advantage. They have been landing here, and they're playing with a lot on the line as well. We were talking about Kanata and Sphinx at 100. Korean and Dragon at 108 points. If they were to get taken down off spawn, they have to sit and watch their actual spot go by.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that because, you know, we were talking about how, like, Queasy and Victor V like to play for this drop. You know, what happens if you have someone like Creon push through, right? And then they all of a sudden determine or decide for themselves, hey, we like this drop. Well, we'll just have to play it out. There you see Veno falling, though. Kanata Sphinx on the other side. Still at the latte, still playing their general route, but this time hip to hip here. Not veering too far off, not looking to venture somewhere that they can't support one of them.
Yeah, just going to leave no chances. They're not going to take too many risks, probably, unless they have to in this situation. So we're going to see a lot of hip-to-hip out of Kanata and Sphinx, which could work out to them, because maybe, you know, another team jumps on them, or they're in a situation where they spot a solo out, but Vibe's going to be chilling on top of that mountain. I'm not necessarily sure he's going to go straight for an elimination, but any damage can put Kanata and Sphinx in a little bit of a hole. As Hunting Mako seems to have a good advantage here in their fight. They already got that 1 elimination and a little bit of elevation over Zeely.
Yeah, this is a really interesting fight that's kind of taken itself out to the coast here. Hunty's going to be the first to fall, though. Zeely ends up catching him. And then the follow-up. Okay, so a little revenge here. For a second there, I thought he took his hands off his keyboard because he was thinking of emoting, but probably just pressing the clip button. Well played for him.
It's not something that happens every day. He hit him with a quick cutback, too. Like, he thought I was gone. Sight! Gets that elimination. That's got to be a big confidence boost. They're in a situation where they need a victory royale if they want to go ahead and advance to the grand finals, dodge that last chance qualifier. I think anything is possible, especially with the way some of our top teams have been playing. Just going straight for eliminations, not necessarily worried about going down. And this is where you see a little bit of a difference this time around. Poyo with the Warforged AR. Peterbot's going to go ahead and grab the other one. Maybe they switch back there, but obviously you can see the tricks that they have up their sleeve. We know throughout the course of the game they're going to look to get aggressive. It's just a matter of who they're going to fight and what dreams they're going to crush.
Yeah, in last game they found themselves below the surge. We knew it was likely to happen after Peterbot was taking so much of that damage. Just really unlikely as far as how things worked out. But take a look at this. Bucky and Cam making the early rotate here as well, trying to get themselves situated for endgame 2. And they're falling into the hands of players like Gutterleaf, who will happily welcome anyone who wants to rotate by them.
Yeah, free damage, free surge. They just continue to look down from above. Very, very similar spots over here where teams are just lurking around these mending machines, that underground tunnel. Now Peterbot and Poyo look to get offensive, and they're just narrowly going to be able to escape that porta potty teleporter. Push them down below, but at least they give them all the real estate up above to take control, use these mending machines, and just kind of rotate on to the next one. They're not going to sit idly by for too long. It's a team that I feel like just gets bored playing Fortnite, so they just key everybody.
Yeah, definitely an interesting play here, right? Like, they're trying to figure out what makes the most sense for them. I think, to me, this is more like prep for finals, you know? The way they've rotated towards different drops definitely seems pretty intentional right now. Curve on the other side, though. Finds a team. They already have 2 Elims, by the way.
This one almost leaves me scratching my head just a little bit. We were literally talking about Dragon and Creon. Yes, 108 points, maybe 111, because they did get that elimination onto Veno.
Oh.
And they lurk all the way to the side. They were looking for Agers. They chased Agers into their own demise. Now Curve and Higgs are here. Both teams essentially qualified to the grand finals already, but they could definitely play spoiler to what Agers has going on.
Agers has a med kit. Curve is like, dude, we know there was someone here. He's going to check for it. He checks the code. You can see inside the code, of course. Goes for the right camera peek. Agers barely misses that one, and off he goes. What a way for this one to turn around. Curve Higgs fired up. Agers gets caught out there. Well played. He did try. They did try, but it's Creon and Dragon in the end who end up really taking the bulk of the L here.
Chasing away that elimination. Obviously going to wait for confirmation, but starting the game at 108 plus the 3 points per elimination. We know where they stand on the leaderboard. So I feel like they're hoping and praying one of the teams above them on that leaderboard wins the game, alleviates the pressure at the bottom of the consistency teams that will get granted a spot in. Only time will tell how they're feeling when this one's said and done. Cash and Spear, another team that actually has a few moments throughout the course of today where you kind of look at them, it's like these guys, you know, can fight with the best. They held off Peterbot and Poyo for quite some time and even forced them to disengage from the actual fight. And they could just have one decent game. They don't even need anything phenomenal, but just one decent game. They could be one of the newest teams here in the grand finals.
Yep, just got to touch the backboard. That's all they got to do. Poyo, Peterbot already swapped up the loadouts here. You saw the SMG exchange, so Peterbot back with the War4 JR. Losing to Minty, though, in Autumn here. Again, Peterbot getting shot more than we see him take damage often. Start off really strong. Poyo comes back around there. Give me a second. Finish this one up pretty quickly there. Where was Autumn that entire time, by the way? Minty's just up there boxing with the best. Autumn's down at the bottom. Oh no. His teammate surely is going to be yapping about this one.
Wow.
What? Whoa, wait a second. A monstrous shot shuts down Poyo. Peterbot's in a 1v1 now.
Yeah, this is going to be a moment he's definitely going to remember. That wasn't just a shot. Like you said, a monster shot where the builds are breaking, but Pete is Pete. Goes back up, returns to the scenic round to finish his job. Poyo drops down below. Typically, you could go over to the reboot van, but that's just going to make way too much noise. So great heads up play by Poyo. Just waiting for Peterbot to finish that fight, get their 4th elimination, and kind of rise up the leaderboard. They do have a legitimate chance to take first. They do have a little bit of a gap to overcome. With Adrian and Veno no longer in this game, that's the first place team out of action.
Yeah, I like how there was like probably an argument between Autumn and his teammate, and then he draws Poyo. I'm like, hey, he redeemed himself. Couldn't quite come through in the end. Pessy and Devade this entire time. Remember, they were the team that was chased down the zip line, came back as well, just listening, kind of hearing this all go down. This is Peterbot and Poyo just taking control of that machine, by the way.
Yeah, just kind of leaving nothing behind. Going right back on up. He's going to get a good vantage view up above. Seeing what scraps of loot they can have to kind of finish off their loadout. Kind of go from there. I know this is not the last we've seen of Peterbot and Poyo, but Dimsy and Allen. Allen's going to go down. Dimsy now left by himself against Higgs and Curve. Almost named their duo name there, but Dimsy with a big shot onto Higgs to slow him down. He needs the Siphon for the HP. Shield's not necessarily going to be a worry here. And with Curve popping that chug jump, that's going to give him a little bit of time to try to get the shield off, but he trades shots, doesn't get the shield on back, and goes down. Dimsy and Allen will fall and will have to play through the LCQ.
Curve is so smart. You saw there, just cones in, just like, nope, I'm just going to chill. Zone's done enough for you. Either way, clutches it up. Look at this play. Look at this. Talk about having fun. This is how they have fun here. Just Pool sends another team just hiding in the big metal base. No problem.
Just gotta see what they can get away with here. Nobody really even looking in their direction. The third party, Poyo gets one, stack them up, knock them down. 6 eliminations here in counting. You see 2 teams at Sanctuary, 2 teams on the west side. And again, nobody even lurking in this direction. I think they kind of see the feed and realize it's Peterbot and Poyo, and that is one bear you do not want to poke.
Let's take a look at it from Poyo's perspective the entire way through. Oh yeah, he literally leads that entire elimination right there. Catches the nice angles. Off to the next fight they go. You know, I was thinking about, like, hey, if you were on the standings and you were, like, in the 100, low 100 team point range, like, you would literally need all your competition to get dropped. And the way Peterbot is playing right now, he's probably the blessing in disguise for those that are struggling with that.
That Warforged AR strikes in camp. This is just madness right now. Seconds in the box is all it takes to get another couple of eliminations. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. This might be just one of those games to where if you don't have points and you're on the line, where I was talking about some of the teams before where you don't need to win, you just need to do the bare minimum. This might be that game. This honestly looks like my trip in Division 2 when the Central players kind of come over to West, they W-key the lobby. I just hide in a cone, let them do the heavy lifting. And I think that's the approach some of these teams might be taking.
Yeah, definitely. Look, 30 teams remaining right now. By far the thinnest lobby of the weekend here. Go figure. It's the most stacked one, right? You have the upper heavyweight players in the lobby here. And then you got just Peterbot, Poyo in the mix. Dominating. Pushing through all these poor players. Just trying to figure it out. Just trying to make it work. For some, it's their first finals opportunity. For others, they've kind of shared their way into those set lobbies time, few in between.
Ooh, that's a big shot by Centro to slow Poyo down for a moment. But then you remember it's a full duo in the box. 10 eliminations here so far. And just to kind of reference, they had the most eliminations in the play-in, 280. They had 10 plus eliminations game. They already have one. They had 6 20 plus eliminations game, and I feel like that's the next goal that they're after.
It's actually working out really well for Kanata and Sphinx. They're already in the new zone. No surge to worry about. They've kind of kept a low profile because they wanted and had to the entire time, right? They need those placement points. They want to push through. And then you got Peterbot, Poyo thinning out the lobby. You have King and Craze thinning out the lobby. Like, this is perfect for them.
Especially since they're already inside of the zone. A few teams still might come from that western and southern edge overall, but since they're already positioned there, full boxed up with some extra space, little to nothing to worry about. Very, very similar to Higgs and Curve here, which aren't too far away from where Kanata and Sphinx are actually at. They've already made their moves early, 7 eliminations, so not necessarily a worry as you see King and Craze continuing to go on the frenzy. That's their first elimination of this game, and it already looks like they're going to lock up number 2 here, eliminating that full duo from the lobby.
That was nicely done too. They did that while rotating their way to the new zone, so it's not even like they're like intentionally looking for the W key there. That one just landed for them. Peterbot, Poyo chasing right now. Who did they find? They just see a solo and they're just gunning their way outside the storm line there.
Monster, you ask, you shall receive. Who did he find? Kugo. At least it's just a knock. At least it's just a knock, and Castle is still alive. So their dreams aren't over just yet. Definitely have taken a turn, especially since we are in the 5th zone. It's already a 2-tick, and once here in a few seconds, we're going to move into 6. And this is where that 5 points of damage for every second you are in the zone. So if you're not in the safe spot just yet, you're going to have to beeline your way there. As you see more and more teams trying to accumulate that storm surge damage. Even in accelerated lobby, it's still a thing in the back of some players' minds. Everyone except for Peterbot and Poyo.
Okay, but Peterbot's down. Poyo's here. Finds the follow-up, the instant elimination, but no, the thirst comes through at the end. This is 13 elims now. Is Poyo gonna go for the reboot though? Just a real question. Box is one right there. Oh, this is King and Craze. That was crazy.
Might have a chance to.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
he does.
pretty sure. Yeah, there's
Oh,
one on top
gosh.
of the mountain. I was thinking Frosted Flats. It might be too far away. Then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure there is a second reboot. Pushed or not, he's going to have to go ahead and get aggressive here. Big shots could be fired off, but he's taking over 180 damage just like that until he's sprayed down by King and Craze.
Yeah.
One hunter into another.
I was gonna say, you know, again, we made all these references about King and Craze, the other team in this lobby, thinning things out. And you just shot the wrong duo on the rotate. They have nothing to lose. You saw how fast they just turned. In a normal grand finals, that right there never happened. They're never keying into the storm, away from the safe zone. But all good. Entertainment was there. Curve and Higgs, though, on the pressure right now. Who is that they're fighting?
I thought for a moment, because I saw in the feed, that they did take down Sphinx. He is fully eliminated out of this lobby, but that might have been the blessing for Kanata. A whole nother team pushing in to try to disrupt that fight. This is how they found that elimination, rotating from Frosted Flats, trying to make their way on over, and you can see he wasn't able to actually get the revive. So Kanata now in this game as a solo, and he's right below all the action of Higgs and Curves.
How badly does he want to kick? Curve and Higgs actually have 9 elims as well. Talk about a huge game for them right now. It's just happened out of nowhere. The zone is going to double back, though, towards Kanata. He might be able to count his lucky stars here. Now, I kind of have a problem with this, though. You don't have Peterbot in this lobby anymore, so they're not going to continue to be keying. Unless King and Craze, Higgs and Curve keep pushing the rest of this lobby, everyone else is playing for the win.
Yeah, I feel like now we have begun Game 5 of Fortnite. If you're lucky enough to make it this far in the game, got yourself a real shot. Kanata, remember we saw Dragon and Creon go down around 111 points. So he is still the person to be around 10th place on the consistency leaderboard. Just needs to go ahead and get a couple more placement points or another couple of eliminations here. That'll put him at least above Dragon and Creon. A little bit of a cushion starting to be built.
He's got a lot of kind of area to play with here. This is all his old zone. Just trying to utilize that wood the best that he can to get to the front now. Again, all that matters now is that he earns himself some placement points. I'm thinking he's going to need probably 30, maybe 40 points minimal. But no, Curves sees the solo here. He's already pressured them once. Kanata doubles back. This is good, though. He's got that all under control. Curve recognizes there could be danger there. These are metal boxes he retreated to.
Yeah, luckily for him, there was all that space for him to go in, which makes it, like you're saying, so risky for Higgs and Curve. They're going to slow it down just a little bit. They realize the stage of the game that we're actually into these moving zones. One mistake could cost them an opportunity here, even with their spot already secured. If we find ourselves with a Higgs and Curve victory royale, again, the bottom of the leaderboard will shift up just a little bit. So you got to look at the silver lining in a lot of the situations here where they already have 10 2,400 above the damage threshold. I think that's just as impressive as the 10 eliminations themselves.
Leading the lobby right now, leading the pack here, doing very, very well for themselves. And look at this, this really isn't even a real mid-ground layer. Like Higgs and Curve kind of have this like chill lobby. This is what happens in the end game when you start to really push players to their limit and everyone is so low on the standings and out of the race that they need that win for grand finals. This is exactly what happens. Meanwhile, Kanata, more pressure than anyone else right here as a solo takes that one. Can't quite get the finish as he has to rotate through, but he leaves that player in the storm. He might be able to earn himself some placement points here, and of course the elimination points. We'll see.
Definitely see why he just made no play for the actual loot. He's pretty stacked for the most part, especially considering he's a solo. Max is finally going to get cleaned up, so he does get his points. 111, tying Dragon and Creon on the overall leaderboard. One more team needs to go down. Who kind of passed them, start to build that cushion. But you can see how dangerous of a position, not only he, but Spear is on the other side. 134, much farther up on the leaderboard. But you could even have that feeling that maybe it's not over just yet, but he is so close to qualifying.
I don't know how I feel about the ultimate low ground play, but he goes for it. Meanwhile, Bucky and Cam try to make the heroes effort play for high ground, but Cam is left by himself as it turns to a failed attempt in the end. Higgs and Curve thwart their attempt. Cam now forced to heal. Kanata falls at 115, Jacob.
Uh-oh. Now you're really starting to feel that pressure, Monster. 13 eliminations, though, for Curve and Higgs. They're continuing to light up the leaderboard. Top 16 situation. 3 players, Monster, running around as solos down below.
You need one of these big dogs to take this win right now. You need King or Craze to do it. If you're on the bubble, you want someone above you to qualify at this point in time. Higgs and Curve are still fighting their way through lobby, by the way, but King and Craze just are dominating here now, pressuring everyone down low, creating the blender for the rest of the competition here. I still see Skittles up. Oh, look at this. Kayan and Skittle actually just jump up over the 120 mark. That's the placement points that everyone else was trying to fight for. Here goes the high ground fight again. It's Leaf this time, but he's not going to have enough firepower there. King and Craze take a lot of damage, but they have enough to kind of maintain control here. Craze trying to finish what he started. Goes to the outskirts, goes to the wall take. Curve finds an Elim on the low ground. Off to the front side he goes. This is all up to Kingaling now. High ground, solo.
Yeah, both Curve and King, both as solos. They were the ones that were left alive, kind of affecting the lobby the most, especially after Veno, Aegis, Peterbot, Pollo no longer around. So this is where you really have to push yourself forward. Top 10, half of the placement points already, but the lights get shut out. King gets another elimination as he makes his way back on up into the clouds, kind of give him a bird's eye view, but it's not going to be for free. Zen fighting for it before he eventually has fallen. Him and Paper will get sent out, and Curve turns back to the scene of the crime. This is his high ground. You are just a placeholder.
Why not? Why not continue to fight for it? They're just having fun at this point. Curves smashing the lobby right here. Finds another solo. There's just a singular duo down there kind of in the mix, but it doesn't matter. Cirque here at 164. Surely he's done enough now. He's just fighting his way through this end game. Saf here finds himself at 136, playing the storm line. He's not going to have enough time probably to go for the next one. Curve finds him as well. 15 eliminations and counting here, Jacob. He's now focusing in on the other solo who's trying to run back to the storm line. That's a fresh Elim there, and he's trying to fight for 20, but Bolo, tragic at 89 points, but Curve is still fighting for it.
I've never witnessed such greatness. Curve, 16 eliminations, already 17. God. Dodging the first shot. Yes, 70 on the Chug Jug. Blocks off the shockwave. Forces Polo out. Curve, 18 eliminations as a solo. He has stolen today's show.
21 total, but Curve puts the lobby in his pocket and to the bank. That is how you put him away right there, Jacob. What a fun way for us to close out the Heat 3 here. Zeke, I mean, give us your thoughts now.
Curve! Curve! Oh my God! Curve! No way, dude. No way. By the way, no big deal. FNC is champion, by the way. Curve. Oh my gosh, this kid has been up on the rise. I've had the pleasure of meeting his family back at Summit. We had a chance to talk to Curve mom and dad, some of the sweetest people you ever seen in your life. I'm telling you right now, his dad is probably screaming at the top of his lungs right now, which is what I want to do in celebration as well. But I gotta make sure that I don't like we do a show here. Kelly Link, Curve just solo clutched a game.
What do you mean you're not going to scream at the top of your lungs? It's exactly what you just did. That's what we were all doing. Zeke, Vivid, everyone watching at home. He had more eliminations than any other duo had together in a single game. And if you actually look at the leaderboard, he might have more eliminations than a lot of duos together. 18 eliminations from our reigning NAC champion, Curve. You got to think that Higgs is super happy with this pickup right now. They've been looking good all day, but that game solidifies it.
Listen, Levin's little fantasy league that he's created for us here for the FNCS had me so invested in that game because I had Curve on my team, and I was loving every last bit of that. I mean, the guy was up on high ground. Not even when he was just specifically up on high ground. That pistol in hand, like, were we in a Heat's final lobby, or was Curve in, like, an aim training little map or something like that? Because anytime somebody was on his screen, he was just hitting the shots super clean out of Curve. I mean, look at this. He's got 7 going into, he's in 7th zone right now. He picks up 10 more in just the last final zones here. Incredible work from Curve.
18 eliminations. 18 eliminations. Guys, I just want to say, obviously, like, that was an incredible game, but I have just been so impressed by so many of the duos we've seen across this weekend that are newly formed, that are coming into this. They all have their eyes set on one thing, the global championships. I am so impressed, Kelly, seeing the growth from Curve, from even just a major ago to the summit where he gets his first. Think back then as well, he gets a solo VR clutch for him back then. Benno daps him up like, dude, you're nuts. Comes in here, solo clutches an 18 elimination. Victory royale. Oh my gosh, we have been treated to some crazy Fortnite. Shout outs to Curve, shout outs to Higgs. We'll be seeing them in next weekend's finals. Good luck to whoever decides to contest them. Hopefully they don't do that, because I do not want to mess with Curve. Friends, there is a little more to this story, though. There's a little more to this story, right? We knew going into this, Kanata and Sphinx really needed to have the game of their life to keep the dream alive, okay? Man, more on that in a second. First, really quickly, I want to revisit. Maybe you're tuning in, you missed all of the action. Remember, if a duo got a victory out, that means they auto-qualify, go straight to finals next weekend. We have a little graphic lined up here just to give you like the winners and one nice little graphic. Congratulations to all of them. Buka winning game 1 was nuts, by the way. So crazy. Man, we have had... This was one of the best heats we ever had. Okay, Kelly.
What?
Kanata. How many? Kelly, you're so super intelligent. How many finals has Kanata been to? I think the answer is all of them, right?
All of them. Every single one that has ever happened.
Right. So if he missed one, that would be bad, right?
It would definitely not be good.
It would not be good. Okay, first off, we'll start here. Remember, top 15. That's our top 10. Kingling, Craze, #1 spot after everything is said and done. Congratulations to them. AJ, Benno, looking crazy. Peterbot, Poyo, of course they did crazy. You know them. I would like to turn over to the second page, though. 136 is the cutoff here. I do want to turn your attention to 19th place. We saw Kanata and Sphinx fall with 115 points. I can't process this, Kelly. My brain is not, my brain's like, nah, this isn't real. We're actually about to wake up and we're going to start today. And it's gonna be like, today's a new day of Fortnite. We're going to start Major 3 over, right? Like, this can't be real. This can't be happening.
My heart is actually beating quite heavily right now. I'm stressed.
Place.
I'm genuinely upset. Okay. Second chance qualifier, last chance qualifier, whatever it's called.
Of course.
Tuesday, whatever day it is.
Of course.
We still got a chance. We have 5 teams that are going to be going through, and although we've had some big names not qualify through Heats 1 and 2, I will say besides Kanata and Sphinx, for Heat 3, which was the big heat, it seemed like a lot of the big teams already went through. And although that doesn't mean anything, we can't say that it's over just yet, right, Vivid?
Definitely have a chance. If anybody can do it, it is, of course, going to be Kanata. Yeah, man, just a rough go at it here today. Obviously, their qualification to Grand Finals is on the line. Whether or not we see Zeke next weekend is on the line. So a lot to play for there. We did see a couple of players, though, kind of clutch up their qualification. Like we saw Paper, man. Paper's so good. He kind of just returns to Fortnite whenever he wants and just qualifies to Grand Finals and like lands all the time. Super, super crazy alongside Zen this time. Skittles as well, kind of clutching up that 15th place threshold. 136 points, so it jumped up 36 points there the last game. Crazy stuff out of Heat 3.
Just an incredible heat. I joked before, if Kanata didn't make it, I wouldn't be here. But, you know, Kelly, you're right, okay? Because we're the same, okay? Me and you, we are believers. We like to believe in the good things, and we believe that Kanata will make it through LCL Tuesday. He's just being Kanata, Kelly, right? He's just being a dramatic guy. You know, he's trying to be like, I'm not gonna qualify, but watch. Right, Kelly, that's what it is, Kelly, right?
You know,
Kelly,
he saw all the drama happening with Major 1, and he felt left out, and he goes on to win, you know, NA West and everything. He's like, that was just so easy. I gotta come here. I gotta bring more drama. He missed it. That's what it has to be. But honestly, no, I really do want to speak on just what an incredible day it was for heats. Typically in heats, we do see a lot of like smaller second to third tier teams kind of actually getting these wins or being in the top of our leaderboard. But to literally have it go from Booga and Braids, Reet and Cooper, Clicks and Rap, like it just was like an star-studded event for today. And that was just a little taste of what we have for grand finals. This whole weekend has been absolutely incredible, Vivid.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you're kind of talking to how good Heat 3 was. All of our Heats were super, super fun. This weekend was absolutely fantastic. But only 5 spots remain now. I cannot wait for Tuesday to see who picks up those last couple of spots. And then after that, we're off to grand finals. Already in major number 2, the last major for duos of the year. A lot to play for.
Well, to correct really quickly, we need 4 spots because we know one of them's going to top. Crazy stuff. Don't forget, Tuesday is LCL. For now, we will see you guys then. We love you. Stay safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus.
Beep, beep.